Here we go.
G'day fans and welcome back to another exciting episode of Rip It Off the Card. And if you're wondering why I'm looking like a really tired dag, it's because this is the 40th episode. Count it, 40 episodes for this year alone. So every week for the past 40 weeks, I've been looking at that dude's head right there. And I tell you what, how can people still be watching us after all this time, Mr. Aaron? What's the deal?
I know. Even I would prefer watching the Hey Hey It's Saturday retrospective. Who knows what Pluck a Duck will get up to?
Well, as you pointed out, they had to start that special half an hour before us just so they could steal our audience. If it had been a half an hour after, they would have had no hope whatsoever. So
I see that Christy has said aloha, but my eyes saw alcohol, which I thought was a funny way to start the show.
Party. Yes, it's the it's like heading towards the middle end of November already, and it's pouring rain outside. It's just funny how some of these episodes go. Some days we're boiling and basting in our own juices, and other episodes we're freezing our asses off. So you're either wet or you're not. And look at this. Rusky Babes is joining us. What are you doing watching us, Mr. Rusky Babes? You're a Hey It's Saturday aficionado. You should be out there watching them. What's the deal with that?
I think it's not the good 70s stuff. It's just a clip show of all the highlights, isn't it? I don't know. It could be good, it could be bad, but we've got Hey Hey and we've got Andor on, and we've still got our viewers turn up, which really shows some loyalty, I think.
Tell you what, there are absolute space cadets out there. And for those, don't forget, after our eBay section, we do have a bit of a promotion about our dinner that we've got going on the 17th. Just a reminder for everybody, but we'll cross those bridges when we get to them. First things first. Now, for those who've been watching the past couple of episodes about Aaron's deceased estate story. Now, recently he decided to write it out as a War and Peace, and it's probably about one of the longest posts in the history of Facebook about everything that's going on. So you've at least done the big sort of like text dump, as it were, on the feed to fill everybody in as to what's going on. So does that mean you want everybody to friend you just so they can read about what's been going on? Is that the inspiration behind that?
No, I was having so many friends ask me about it that I thought I'll put it up there. I am happy to put it up on the Sci-Fi Zone page with the pictures as well. If you think that if people would want to read it, happy to do that.
Very, very good. So there's a lot of stuff going on. And of course, as Aaron said to me before we went on air, he did that because he kept having to repeat the story over and over and over again. And of course, when I was in the store with you like a couple of Saturdays ago, 4 times, because different people were coming in and said, well, this is the latest. There's what's going on. And I'm in the store going, oh, my God, I've seen the movie. I've read the book. Where's the merchandise?
Dags is sitting there going, hang on a second. When he told this story this morning, it was 3 tons, and then it turned to 10 tons. Now we're up to 27 tons of material. I think something dodgy's going on here.
Now, I've told you a million times never to exaggerate, okay? So
literally.
Absolutely love it. Very, very cool. Good stuff. Oh, okay. So Rusky Babe said it's the repeat of the 50th. What are they calling it? The 100th? Yeah, I was wondering about that. So
because if you take a 50, if you take 50 and you repeat it again, you add them together, so you get the 100th.
See, I failed high school maths, and I'm proud of it. So numbers just mean like French to me. So there you go. Very, very good. All right, so we've got a big show tonight. Now, last week was a very, very popular one. Apparently, talking about TV shows you used to watch after school as kids. Mainly for Generation X and maybe the start of Generation Y, and all the collectibles and merchandise that came with it. So today we've got a bit of part 2 stuff coming up, and it should be kind of groovy, actually. So especially some of the shows I've never even heard of. So I'll be sitting there going, that sounds absolutely fantastic, Mr. Aaron. Where can I push the button for the next one? Very cool.
I think the fantastic thing about this is we get a bit of feedback for the show, but I got a lot of feedback through last week's show in the shop saying, oh, can you do this show? Do you remember this show? Can you do this show? So yes, we listen to that feedback and we're doing another one. And if we don't cover a show that you like, let us know and we will.
Very, very cool. Now, I like this one. Mr. Phil's decided to slip on in, and he's done the whole promo. He's the Doctor Who Club president and all this sort of stuff. But he is correct. Tomorrow night, and we're going to talk about this later on, is the last episode of the Who Report, episode 6. So we've jumped in about an hour early. But yes, make sure you tune in tomorrow night for Mr. Aaron and Mr. Greg to discuss the Docky Who show. How good is that? Very exciting. Last episode. There'll be like a million weeping Who fans after that episode is finished. So very good. Mr. Greg, Docky Who. Absolutely love it. What do you reckon, Mr. Aaron? You psyched and pumped about the last ep?
I am, but the end is here, but the moment has been prepared for. We'll talk about that tomorrow on the show, I guess, though.
Very good. And with that in mind, we're going to go to a Docky Who pick right there. Now, he's the 11th Doctor now. Hang on. So he's the 11th one. And was he before that? The 9th or the 10th, the 8th or something?
No, he's the 14th, and he was also the 10th. And I so want you to change the wait for it to pull my finger just for 1 week.
All right. I was going to say the 14th, so I've lost track of the numbers already. So very good. Very, very exciting. It's time for us to kick the show off. Whether you're the 10th or the 14th is completely irrelevant. But it's now time for a little bit of this. So, Mr. Aaron, there's a fair bit going on in the news world tonight. Is that correct?
Well, this is an interesting one, and we've got a bit of what you'd expect to see and a bit of more unusual stuff. And of course, because we're coming into the Festivus Christmas season, we're getting a bit of the Christmas stuff coming up on the feeds as well. So it's a little bit of adult entertainment and a little bit of Christmas entertainment and a little bit of cosplay stuff this week.
Now, this is an absolute classic, right? Christy's just, while you were talking, Christy just put this message through. Why do people ring when you were trying to watch us? I was going to say, surely who is ringing up saying, Christy, don't tell me you're watching that stupid show with those two dorks again. It's your therapist calling. I've told you not to do it.
Now what we're going to have to do is have Christy's number on speed dial, and underneath the table all through the show, we just hit redial, and she'll wonder who's ringing.
Or every time she answers the phone, go, what? You go, are you watching it? Are the guys on? Are they really cool? Oh, that's absolutely fantastic. People ringing while we're on the air. Oh, my God. That's what you call a first world problem, isn't it, really?
Yeah.
Love it. All right. So, yes, you're talking about some Chrissy stuff coming up, and we're going to kick it off with a little bit of this. Oh, how do you like your clothing there, Mr. Aaron?
I know. How do you know it's the week after Halloween? Because you start getting Christmas stuff advertised on your Facebook feed. And I am a bit of a clothes horse. I usually go for the geeky T-shirts and things like that. And usually every year I'll buy a couple of Christmas ones, which I have to admit are a bit of a waste because you have maybe two. You have maybe 2 weeks to wear them, and then after that you can't wear them anymore because they're out of season. But there are some nice ones that came through this year. Now, I don't know if this is a bit of a scam because everyone I clicked on when I was doing this segment, it came up only 10 left, like less than 10 left. And I can't imagine with a shop that's like promoting to everyone on Facebook, they've only got 10 units left. I think it's a bit of to get you to buy stuff.
I'm kind of glad he's not watching the Hey 8 Saturdays because he's coming with one of the greatest comments I've seen in a while. Aaron's shop is great for Christmas shopping because when people see the prices on vintage collectibles, they go, Jesus Christ.
Oh, yes. Yeah. and we now accept gold, frankincense, and myrrh.
Oh, this is so wrong. He rings Christy, what are you wearing? Well, the timing is pretty good because Christy could be wearing one of these. Actually, we're going to get through this segment eventually. So, oh God, what a classic moment.
Now,
sorry, dude. Go on.
No, sorry. I highlighted these though because usually every year there's the ugly Christmas T-shirts come up, but this year they've come up with the Marvel, DC, Star Wars pop culture ones, and they're not actually T-shirts. They're actually knitted or fake knitted jumpers, pullovers, and so they are more expensive than usual. They're $60 a pop rather than the $20 you get for the T-shirt versions. But I actually did think they were quite cool. If we were having Christmas in winter, they would be fantastic. Not so much Christmas in summer, but I did think, I mean, if you look at those and you've got a significant other that loves Star Wars, that could be something to grab for them that's a bit unique and a bit unusual, and they could wear at the Christmas barbecue. I really liked the AT-AT, sorry, Dags, the all-terrain armored transport Imperial Walker one. It reminds me of the Atari game, I think, which I used to play as a kid, and you've got the Spider-Gwen one there. But you don't see such a big range of nice pop culture images for Christmas. I guess everyone's jumping on the bandwagon, but I did think out of these posts there was something for everyone. So will you be getting your Batman pullover, Dags?
No, I wouldn't buy one. I wouldn't wear one, but I do like them. There are some that I think are actually pretty groovy. I'd almost be torn to a large degree. I don't tend to wear a lot of pop culture stuff anymore, but I've got to say, I actually don't mind some of them at all. I reckon the designs and that are kind of groovy. So, yeah, it's almost a little bit like if you were to say, I can only pick one, what would you get? And I thought it was interesting the Harry Potter one here, H&R. I thought that's about as generic as you could possibly get. But
Yeah.
yeah, I really liked them actually. I thought it's different. I mean, if they were to be long sleeve T-shirts in the same pattern, you could probably get wear them all the time. But if they're jumpers, yeah, you're right, it make it be a bit harder. But I got to admit, I would be a bit torn as to say, well, what would you pick? So yeah,
Yeah,
it's
I did
pretty good.
think they were a cut above the usual Facebook feed T-shirts that turn up. So we thought we'd bring them to everyone's attention and let you know that they're out there. And if you order them now, you can probably get them in for Christmas. If it's a 42-degree Christmas day, who knows if you want to be wearing them or not, though.
Yeah, yeah. Certainly be curious to see if anybody ends up wearing those sort of things at any expos in the middle of winter next year.
Yeah.
Joe said he likes that style of jumper too, wouldn't wear them. Yeah, I'm not a jumperish kind of person, but if they were long sleeve T-shirts, I'd probably seriously be going, oh, geez, I'm a bit torn. So, like a lot of things, when it comes to pop culture clothing, you can see some designs, you go, that looks great, but there's just something about it that it's a bit off kilter. It doesn't work for me. One of the things that I had a real issue with is when they produced a whole lot of neckties for Star Wars and Star Trek. The Star Trek ones in particular were great. You'd have all these nebulas and stuff and the Starship Enterprise and whatever, but they'd write Star Trek on it. And you go, you don't need the words. Just keep it
No.
really subtle. So it's only when you really look and go, oh, it's a Star Trek tie. You don't want the frigging word put in. So that used to really irritate me. But other than that,
Yeah.
very, very good. Okay. Rebecca, I don't know who Rebecca is, but she's saying hi, sis. I don't know who she's saying hi, sis to, but Rebecca's a first-time viewer. Definitely don't recall seeing her before. So g'day, Rebecca. Good, thanks for joining the show. You've come at a good time because we're just talking about all sorts of exciting clothing. And now we're going to go into big, bulky, like mega dudes. And, of course, got a bit of Rambo action. What's the deal with that, Mr. Aaron?
Yeah, so right in the middle of the Christmas clothing, we've got a John Rambo. It's John, isn't it? A Rambo figure. It's an unusual one because it's from the first Rambo where he goes troppo and is doing the survival in the American wilderness. And I think it's actually quite an amazingly good figure. It's got enough accessories and enough realistic looking clothes, and the likeness is good enough for the scale that this isn't a hot toy. This is actually just the smaller 6-inch action figure. I thought this was quite a good figure, one of the better Rambos to come along for a while. It's got alternate hands, alternate heads, different clothes that can wear, different accessories. It really, Adrian, yes, Adrian. So I did think, although we have highlighted Rambo once or twice before, this was a particularly good one. It was coming out from a firm I hadn't seen related to action figures so much before. I mean, usually stuff like this is NECA, but this was Neva or something like that I hadn't.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is an interesting one. So I'm just going to go back to what the comments are going on, right? So Rebecca, who's joined us, says hi, sis. And of course, we're trying to work out who we're referring to. And Christy said it's Rebecca is Christy's sister. So clearly, what that means is that Rebecca's the one who keeps ringing. So so I guess Chrissy said, just watch the bloody show. Get off the phone. I tell you what, Rebecca, I don't know what Christy said to you, but believe me, it will not be worth it. You'll be watching the two of us and going, well, that was a waste of effing time. Go to the Hey Hey special on Channel 7 or watch a bit of Andor or something. You can do better.
If you're really lucky, they'll play a clip of Plucker molesting someone. So come on.
Yep, love it. Very, very good. And she's finally hung up. Oh, there you go. Good stuff. And Rebecca's in the hospital, watching us in the hospital. Honestly, we can really put people in the hospital because our shows are so bad. But if you're there as a sick person, we certainly hope you get better. But yes, very, very good. All right, we're making a joke of all these people having this massive conversation. If you're watching this on replay and got no idea what's going on, completely sympathise with that. Now, this is coming up. Now, this is completely left field to what we normally show in terms of collectibles. I saw this and I go, oh, this is kind of groovy, actually. It is you can say it's a Rebel Alliance because the Resistance uses the same logo. Handbag, because it's the whole layer thing. Is that right, dude?
It is. I thought this one was interesting too. It is one of those really unusual lots of news products this week where different things came through when I was looking around. But this is based on Princess Leia's white costume from A New Hope. And the inside, what I really like, a lot of the bags like Gucci and some of the other big brands have the lining with the logo repeated over and over. They've just got the Rebel Alliance logo, which I think is quite neat. And it is one of those, if you were cosplaying as Leia, this could be a dainty feminine bag that you could keep all your accessories in when you go to one of those steamy Melbourne conventions. And I do think I like how the bag is made to look like the folds of the dress. And then the handle of the bag is meant to look like her belt on the dress as well. So I thought it was a good job for anyone who likes Star Wars. And this is what Dags was saying about the ties. It hasn't got Star Wars written all over it, but it's got enough Star Wars on that anyone who's a fan will know, but it's still cool enough, I think, to get away with in public without everyone going, oh, look, a Star Wars nerd.
Three things actually. So Christy said she actually likes the bag. Actually, I think it's great. Actually, it's really, really cool. Guy's just joined in and said he's watching on YouTube, has got no idea what's going on. Don't worry, Guy, we don't either. And there's another picture here. What is this? Is this what's unzipped? Is this the inside of it?
Oh, this was another bag that was in the same range. So I put that one as well, just as sort of, we had the female handbag, and you can also get like a new Star Wars backpack for kids, or I guess for adults to take stuff around in as well. So that was our news. It was a bit of a different news this week, wasn't it?
Yeah, the funny thing about the Alliance logo is it pops up in the worst possible places on the news. They're because there's everything going on with the Medibank hacking scandal and Optus and whatever. And of course, when they're talking about the hacking thing, they'll show generic shots that they've got of dudes on computers typing with all this green text with the hoods and crap. And one of them, I don't know how they've done this or why they've done it. They've got this shot of a dude on a laptop, and on the back of the laptop is the Alliance logo, right? So clearly, Channel 9 don't know what it is. They've just said, yeah, it's just a sticker, stick it in, right? But it's actually on the back of the laptop screen, on the bit that's sticking up. So it's just there, the Alliance logo, in full plain view on camera. So if you're a Star Wars fan or a young fan thinking, oh, what, a Star Wars fan's hacking into Medibank or something, it's not a good look. So,
well, what I've actually heard is Luthen needs extra funds to set up the Rebel Alliance, so he's probably got a series of hackers hacking into Medibank as we speak to transfer over to Mon Mothma so she doesn't get discovered as a rebel spy.
Wouldn't that be funny? In Andor, Luthen says, mate, I've gone into the dark web. And, mate, I'm doing shifty shit over there. You go, oh, dude, how good's that? So instead of going to Google, he's gone underneath into the dark depths, as it were. So,
yeah.
Very, very good. Yes, Channel 9 never understood Star Wars. Yeah, well, in this case, they certainly don't. I don't know where the footage has come from. They've just stolen it from somewhere and chucked it in. So, anyway, whatever. So
the way we ramble on, no wonder Guy doesn't understand what's going on.
Very, very good. Okay, there's all these comments about Rambo and that. We've passed Rambo now. He's done his dash and come and gone. Now, okay, now this one. This is interesting, fans. So normally we bring up the old useless pop of the week, right? But we're going to do it in backwards reverse. Okay, so normally we show you a pop and you've got to try and guess what it is. Okay, this time around we're doing it backwards. So, Mr. Aaron, we're looking at some, well, inverted commas, good ones. Is that correct?
Well, usually the pops are a load of old shit, but this week we're looking at Pooh. Yes, that adorable Winnie the Pooh. So we're doing this in reverse because there are some good and adorable Winnie the Pooh pops that will... there is no such thing as a useful one. This is the passable pop of the week. So you can see, if you're a Winnie the Pooh collector, there are a few pops there that you could probably lovingly add to your collection and they wouldn't stand out as anything too terrible. So Funko can get it right. If you have a friend who has kids that like Winnie the Pooh, this is an acceptable present and isn't going to be offensive to anyone. So they can do Winnie the Pooh pops. Look how cute that is. He hasn't got his, he's got his galoshes on and he's splashing in puddles. So these are pretty nice images, aren't they, Dags?
They are, until we get to this.
Useless pop of the week!
So, Mr. Aaron, what are you trying to tell me that's come up in the Pooh factory, son?
Well, this turd floated to the surface this morning when I was checking the internet for the useless pop of the week. Now, this is one of those things where they do a different coloured pop or a theme or something like that, and sometimes they work. Most of the times they don't. But when you put this one on Winnie the Pooh, it just comes out looking damn creepy.
I'll tell you what, if you're not a Pooh fan, then look away now.
Well, this is, I don't know what It's looks like a little albino poo pop. He's that pinky color with the pink eyes, and they've done these for different reasons. They've done them for Valentine's Days, or they've done them as special gifts at different time of the year, and they've done holiday ones. In all the other ones, they kind of okay, they've done Star Wars ones in pink and they look like Valentine. This one just looks like someone got a potato peeler and basically peeled Winnie the Pooh. It is a creepy, creepy pop. And I don't know who was in charge of this one, but they really should be shot. What did you think of this one, Dags?
Well, two things. So I can't work out why he's got the white fluffy shit around his ear. I don't get the deal with that, right? And when it says it's flocked, I said, I'll tell you what, he's looking pretty flocked to me. So
well, it's flocked. It means it's kind of got some bum fluff feel to him. He's a bit furry. So it's a pink flocked poo. So try saying that after a couple of drinks.
Absolutely. Yeah, I agree with you. It's utterly and completely useless. And of course, yeah, for this time of the year, they've kind of got it a bit half-assed. They should have brought it out in a few months' time or not bring it out at all.
Did we have the extra photo I sent through?
Of what?
Of
No.
poo. Oh, we didn't have it?
No, I didn't get it.
Oh,
What
no.
was it?
Okay. It was poo skinned by the predator.
Oh, no. Hang on. Did you send that to me? Did you? Oh, well, I was too busy.
Yeah.
I didn't realize it came to me. Yes, very good. For those who look on Facebook and whatever, it will take me a couple of seconds to. No, I can't find it because if I do that, I'll screw up the system. So sorry about that, guys. I didn't realize you sent it to me. I thought you put it on online. So there you go.
Oh, no. Okay. Yeah. So
Very
the joke for that was it does look like the predator has skinned Winnie the Pooh, and that's the result that you get at the end of the process.
So does that mean Winnie the Pooh should have been sitting there going, "Get to the chopper"? Yes, just watch the peeler afterwards. Very good. Pinky the Pooh, absolutely fantastic. All right, so that was very, very good, very, very groovy, and as always, very, very useless. All right, now it's time for something very, very exciting. Now for Rebecca, who's a first-time viewer, I think it's Rebecca. You're not going to have any idea what the hell you're going to be looking at, so we're going to have to explain some of this to you. I think you're still, Rebecca, hopefully still there. So just keep watching. We'll fill everything in as we go along. So this is more for Rebecca's sake than anybody else. But so Rebecca, what happens is we've got a big, long conversation going on between Aaron and this dude called Ronnie, who's hanging out in Asia and dealing with scam buyers and sellers, people who spend money buying products from overseas dealers who either don't send the product through, or they send the wrong product through. And there's been a long, ongoing discussion between Aaron and this dude called Ronnie about products that Aaron hasn't received. That's it in a nutshell. So, you've already filled her in. Good stuff. So you're pre-forewarned. Well done. Oh, Christy, you're acting like the promo for the I was going to say promo for the shop, promo for the show. So that's absolutely fantastic. So, try and explain Ronnie's from first principles. Yes, exactly right. Good stuff. All right. So, Mr. Aaron, what's been going on in the world between you and Mr. Ronnie?
Well, I haven't had much from Ronnie. I've been owed stuff and bought stuff, and it hasn't turned up. And it has been a few weeks since we've had a product reveal. So I've decided to start looking wider than AliExpress and other sites to see if I can find anything. And I've been in a discussion with Ronnie, telling him these things, and he's had some opinions on that. So maybe we can go over to his the first message I sent.
I like that. Yeah, Ronnie's a sort of a Chinese Sid James. So this is all text-based, so Mr. Aaron's going to have to do a bit of writing. Now, remember last week or a couple of weeks ago, whatever it was, Aaron bought some cats. Remember, we got some of those good old friggin' wavy cat things. So what's the update with those? Let us find out. Mr. Aaron, what did you have to say to him?
No lucky cats yet. Dear Ronnie, it's been weeks since I received anything from your company. I'm worried that even all the lucky cats I'm getting with my credit will not arrive. I have found very good items on other websites and have ordered from them. I'm sure you understand. I cannot buy more things until the ones I'm owed have been safely delivered. And there are the little cats that I'm getting for my $260 worth of credit for items I haven't received over the last year.
So, yes, how lucky are the cats? Well, not at the moment because different things haven't turned up yet. So. And Joe, no, that Amazon pallet thing was actually a scam. And because Ronnie completely lost his load when he thought Aaron is going to be doing his money in. Oh, don't deal with scam sites. I know all about them. Yes, of course he knows because he is one of them. All right, so What do you reckon Ronnie had to say about the fact that Aaron's cats haven't turned up yet?
Dear Aaron, please be patient. Cats fly to you on fast wings. Let me just say, as your friend, you shouldn't be looking on other sites. It's like lovers cheating on each other. Best not look and be tempted. Look at fabulous selection we have from our vendors' shops. You know you are likely to even receive something close to what the picture looks like.
So you when you're looking in the so that's for yeah. I'm trying to think of where I'm going to go with this. Yeah. So if you go to Aaron's Collectables and you look in his store, and then you decide, oh, what's in the store next door, which happens to be what one side is a restaurant and the other side is like, I don't know, a $2 shop or something. Mate, you're two-timing. You can't do that.
I like how he's played that if you buy from anyone else, you're cheating on me.
Oh, I tell you what, how's that feel, mate? No, I tell you, did you get the guilt, mate? Did you think, oh, geez, I tell you what, I've got to stay with you, Ronnie, because you and I are like peas in a pod, so to speak. So lovely. And you are right, yes, likely to receive. So even that is not confirmed. Can you make a comment and keep it clean? No.
So I didn't get the guilts, much like I haven't got my cats. I haven't got anything for my friend, one-legged Colin. I haven't got like the Home from Hobbits, or I haven't seen any of that stuff. So I don't have the guilts at all.
All right. So what did Aaron have to say to Mr. Ronnie?
Dear Ronnie, I'm not sure what you were saying, but you want me to be your lover and not cheat on you? I'm married, and no, not now. Oh, whatever I've written there came out wrong. I'm married and not know is this forbidden love can sorry, it should have been I do not know if this forbidden love can really occur. I guess if you have a webcam and an open mind. In the meantime, I've purchased a Christmas vacation centerpiece from another company. Your erotic pal, Aaron.
And I'm going to just go right back here and say, can I make a comment, keep it clean? You've just heard what he had to say. He's talking about webcams and keep it. So I'm handballing that one straight over to Mr. Aaron. So what do you reckon Mr. Aaron sort of like saw and decided to grab? Dude, what have you got?
Well, it's coming up to Christmas, and everybody loves that classic Christmas movie, National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. And I found this site that has, I guess it's just a centerpiece or diorama for Christmas. It has.
There you go, dude. You're being told.
I'll try. Look how limp limp and flaccid that tree looks sitting on top of the car. But I decided you could buy the house or the car or cousin Eddie filling like taking the shitter out and the tree and Clark lighting the lights.
Hey, get on with it, you bought yourself a National Lampoon's thing, right? Good.
I bought the whole lot because it was 50% off, Dags. How could I not buy it? It was 50%
nobody
off.
cares what you bought. We just want to know what Ronnie had to say about it. So what do you reckon Ronnie had to say about the fact that Aaron's decided to two-time and buy off another site? Do you reckon, fans, Ronnie said, that is an awesome product. Get it and buy one for me? Or do you reckon, well, Ronnie lost his load on this one? Well, let's have a look.
Aaron, no. This is a terrible set to buy. Look at the bus. Looks badly damaged. Looks like Breaking Bad meth lab, not Christmas ornamental display piece. Why you want this? Come on, man. We have plenty of Christmas items that are not looking like a crack bus. Your friend Ronnie.
Oh.
I do wonder what will happen when I receive this and send him pictures to review it for me.
Do you reckon when he saw that he was reading that email and he just goes, oh my God, I got to type back. No. Oh, geez. How good is that? Absolutely love it. All right. So
the thing you've got to remember with this, viewers, is there is more conversation that goes on, and you get the edited highlights. There is a lot of stuff to sift through just to get the entertaining stuff. But I think it's worth it. I really want the crack bus.
Oh, yeah, absolutely love it. It looks like the meth lab on wheels. Absolutely fantastic. All right, just quickly, we'll just run through the last couple of comments.
Dear Ronnie, the bus is a loving recreation of Cousin Eddie's bus from the movie. Looks fine to me. And it was half price for one day, so I had to buy it before the price went back up. The shop had such positive feedback, and I hope that you can do a product review when it arrives. All the best, Aaron. P.S. No webcam.
So you're asking him to do a product review of something that's not even from his store, is that right?
When I get it, I will for sure. Yeah.
Very good. Oh, that will get a 0 out of 5 stars. It would have been better if you had bought it from me, but you bought it from someone else, so it is complete rubbish. Is that right?
Well, if it doesn't turn off, he'll be the king of telling me I told you so. I mean, if it doesn't turn up, you know.
Exactly. Oh, yeah. That's why no matter what happens, you've got a like in the store at the moment. You've actually got a Winnebago from The Walking Dead, right? What
Yep.
you do is you pull that out and go, "You wouldn't believe it, Ronnie. They sent me this instead. give us a review." And you watch, you'll go to complete town on the competition. So they are complete scammers. Don't trust them. Oh, you can imagine that. It'd be fantastic. Anyway, his last comment was,
Dear Aaron, I ignored your naughty joke, like Christy, really, about being lovers. I know you grasp what I say and do not need to explain. There will be no webcam meeting. You are too nice. You get tricked by half-price sale. It is half price still, I am sure, if you look. This is way to get people to buy without thinking because they feel they may miss out. From Ronnie.
very good. Anyway, so yes, and you would think the luck of the Irish will be that the other item you've got from the other place will turn up without a problem. Yes, very good. And while this is going on, the multitude of items that you have ordered and never seen, yes, have never turned up. Yeah, or no webcam, the spoil sport. Imagine if you had said, "Yep, let's hook it up and put him on live on the show." Oh, jeez,
Well,
imagine that.
what I would have done, I would have then said, "Let's do it at this time," and I'd have had him on live, and like everyone could have seen Ronnie. He's
Yeah,
ripped off the card,
classic.
real debut.
Yep, absolute classic. He'd be sitting there going, "Why are all these comments coming up?" And you go, "Don't worry about it. Just ignore those. It's all it's happened like a few weeks ago. All good." Anyway, so that's the latest with Greg King's Stupid Things. Yeah, as always, it's the ultimate running gag. Speaking of running gags, guess what, fans? It is now time for this. So it's time for the Lord Vile's Vile File. And I tell you what, in recent months, we've been getting letters from the Vile File. And some people, I think, are starting to become a tad enamored by the Vile. Maybe they want their own webcam. You never know. Because, Mr. Aaron, what letter do you receive this week?
Well, it's from a regular, and she's corresponded with us before. She's never actually appeared live, but I guess I do get the mails in the middle of the night, so I guess it's different time zone or something. But we've got an interesting one from a regular, Andrea, who participates quite regularly.
Now, remember last week, Andrea said that she went back and rewatched a whole lot of Vile's File segments, right, spanning like probably a couple of years. And I said to her, "Don't do it; it'll rot your brain." Right? It really is a health hazard. Anyway, she's come back after watching all these episodes. And I'll tell you what, how do you interpret this, everybody?
Dear Lord Vile, my dark master, I loved the episode you did on wrong translations on menus. I love how you make Dags nearly choke with the force choke. I found this menu you may like. Hopefully you can do another show with bad translations. Love, Andrea.
Andrea, what's the... Alan Cole used to be the Sith acolyte, and now it's like saying it's love, and it's like, holy guacamole, what's the deal? Andrea, what has the Vile File done to you? Have you been personally violated, as it is, by the Vile himself?
I just have to tell you, Alan Cole did write in this week with some stuff, but Andrea's was better. Sorry, Alan.
Absolutely love it. And William, I'm traumatized already. Absolutely fantastic. Really rot your brain and put you on all kind of international police watch lists. All right, so we're talking about bad translation. Anyway, this is the one that Andrea sent through. All right, so don't take offense to it. She sent it through.
So this is on a menu. There was something on a menu that translated of mountains of rape. So I don't know about that one. Stop it, Dad.
So,
you can't laugh at rape jokes.
No, you can't. But so Andrew said, I love the Vile, and I've got a rape joke, so I'm just going to send it through, and off we go, kids. So yes, indeedy duty dities. Anyway, so we're doing it. The Vile is now looking at, what's he looking at? Things that are translated incorrectly. Is that right, Mr. Aaron?
he has. We've done menus before, so he's gone to other things that have been translated incorrectly. So tonight's episode is lost in translation.
I like this one from Phil. It's so terrible. It's not us, right? We didn't do this. This is real life stuff. We're just highlighting it and pinpointing it. So make of this what you will.
Yes. So for anyone who is into equality, we've got a trash can there, diversified trash. So I don't know what that was meant to be. Maybe it meant any trash rather than recyclables or whatever, but it translated as diversified trash. Attention, probably wet. Wet probability, actually. So again, not sure if that was meant to be a wet floor sign or something like that, but came out wrong. I guess you do get the idea of what it's meant to be. And the last one there, that slot does not rest.
Very good. So with the first one, Joe said mixed rubbish. Well, the funny thing is in English, the word diversity tends to have a different meaning. So, yes, you can interpret that many different ways. But very good. White trash, trailer trash, household trash. Yes, exactly right. Very, very good. Make sure it is all just diversified. Very cool.
Yes. Arab shat fresh fish. Now, I don't know if that's an action or the name of the restaurant. Yeah,
that comes afterwards.
So, you can visit the shop for kissing. I don't know if that's for lipstick or I don't know really what that one would actually be. And then, of course, you've got the high maintenance chick salon.
Oh, love it. I reckon there are some dudes out there be looking at their partners going, hey, honey, you go in there because I reckon that's where you need to be.
Yeah, you go in there. I'm going to go and shat fish.
Yes, exactly right. And, of course, with the kissing, shop for kissing, when they've got vacancies, they just say fuglies need not apply. Oh, dear.
It's going to be one of those. We're only on the second slide, aren't we? To arrival hole. And the vial has put the pointer going to the butt sweet shop. So I don't know what the bottom one is as well, because the picture is showing one thing, but the sign is saying something else. Please do not feed the flamingos.
Yeah, those flamingos have a bit of an identity crisis.
I think Los Flamingos is llamas, wouldn't it? And they've somehow changed that to flamingos.
Yes, they've kind of got the one. But the old butt sweet shop, eh? So you go in there and take a whiff of the merchandise. It's a bit out of date.
So is it sweets that taste like butt or products that are sweet for your butt?
I'll tell you what. Dear. Yes, very, very good. All right, let's go.
Special women just are not allowed to enter. The men never. I don't know what that one is. Anyone obeying the swimming pool regulations may be required to leave. And right next to the butt sweet shop, you've probably got the anus perfumery and gifts.
I've got the hiccups now. I tell you what, the anus perfumery, eh? I was like, yes, when you're going to buy for one of those, you really are asking for it. Oh, shit, I've got the hiccups. Oh, damn it. Excuse me.
See, Andrea, the vial is using his dark force powers to give Dags the hiccups.
Oh, mate, unbelievable. Oh, gee. Oh, I'll tell you what, when you get the spray of that, you just picture the images, eh? So, yeah. Oh, dear. But I like the idea with the swimming pool. If you're doing the right thing, you've got to get out. You've got to get out. So, dear. Absolutely fantastic. All right, I've got to keep going. Oh, yeah, I've got the hiccups now. Can you believe it? All right, let's move on.
Porn fashion.
That's just mustaches for dudes. That's all there is there, man.
You're probably right. Evil saloon for men, or salon. Evil salon for men. And then dead slow children playing.
Yes, that can be interpreted a few different ways, eh? But porn fashion. What do you reckon would be in a porn fashion store, dude?
I don't know, a pawn brokerage, second-hand clothes.
All the music is exactly the same as soon as you walk in. Chicka chicka bow wow chicka bow. Oh shit! I'm still got the fucking hiccups. It's pissing me off. Oh god! Live on the air. We're live on the show, and I got the freaking hiccups, and I can't get rid of them. So,
have a drink. Calm down. Don't get too excited.
I'm being violated. He's violating me from the inside. So even from the distance, he's violating me. Yeah, slow zombie kids. Absolutely love it.
I think you'll be okay. I think you'll be okay. I don't think the next picture has anus or ass in it.
Let's have a look, shall we?
Toilet, the place of prayer.
praying to the porcelain god. Oh, God.
Please help us save water. Press flush button twice. I think it is forbidden to throw. It is forbidden to throw nothing down the toilet.
There you go. So just put it in your handbag and off you go. You go on.
Please do not drop butt in the toilet bowl.
Oh, love it. I like this one from Daniel. He said, yeah, the evil saloon is where Mr. Vile goes for his haircuts. Absolutely fantastic. Oh, goodness. Yes. Toilet's dummy prayer. Well, exactly right. You did.
Well, there was our toilet humour for the evening.
Yeah. Huh?
There was our toilet humour for the evening.
Yeah. These next to an absolute classic. Go for it.
Syrian paralysis cheese. I don't know what that does. But Andrea, remember, everyone loves a clean bitch. Please do not litter.
Oh dear, everyone loves a clean bitch. Oh god, that's just too good, isn't it? Oh god,
it really is. It nearly killed you tonight, Dags.
Oh, I tell you what. I'm just waiting to see what people have to say about that. Oh, everybody loves a clean bitch. Oh man, absolutely fantastic. Better than a dirty bitch. Oh god damn it, that is just too good. Tell you, I really have been violated tonight. Oh, that's absolutely shocking. All right, so Mr. Aaron, what are you trying to tell me about all these translations, sir?
What I'm saying is the Vile has gone around and found many translations, brought them to us to deliberately violate you, Dags.
Oh god damn it, unbelievable. So yes, very good. Oh goodness gracious me. So I don't know if Rebecca's still watching or not, but if you are, it doesn't get any better than this.
I'm pretty sure we've managed to just get rid of any new viewers that were watching tonight.
Oh, actually, she's still watching. So there you go. Dirty bitches are better. Oh well, there you go. So yes, indeed,
well,
absolutely fantastic.
You know where dirty bitches go? To the high maintenance chick salon.
Tell you what, very cool. Good stuff. All right. Oh, I need a break after that. Oh yeah, I've got a freaking hiccup. Can you believe it? All right. So, oh god, I'll be doing this for the rest of the show. All right, so we've had some fun with that. Now it's time to put in something where you get to comment on yourself. So get your feedback so I don't have to talk as much, because it is now time, after all that, to do this.
Ooh, baby, do you know that's what...
So, Mr. Aaron, what are we looking at tonight regarding our eBay section?
Well, last week was so wondrous where no one had a clue with these special edition DVDs. We're going back in time even further. We're going to look at videotapes. We haven't done collectible videotapes for a while, so the market, I think the market's actually changed since the last time we look at them. But has it gone up or has it gone down?
Very good. So this is money for Rebecca's sake, because she's a first-time viewer. Just take a guess as to how much you think the item sold for. Don't Google it. Don't cheat or anything. You don't win any prizes. It's just more for the fun of it. And take a bit of a guess and see how you go. So what have we got first here, Mr. Aaron?
It's one of those classics that a lot of people have forgotten about, but when they remember it, have fond memories from growing up and watching this on after-school TV, and that is Count Duckula. And this is a videotape of Count Duckula. Now, these are quite hard to find. I mean, I don't remember them being around in Australia. Maybe I was a little bit too old to get them, but this is an Australian version. It's Count Duckula. It's an obviously out-of-print videotape. How much do you think that'd go for?
Indeed. Joe's made a point of saying he hasn't seen the Vile around for a while. The Vile's actually doing quite okay. He bought a new phone. He's having problems getting his connectivity up and running. But we're going to bring up the Vile back up again a little bit later, just after this segment. So don't run away. All right. Where were we? Now, before the item came up, Ange chucked in the average, the random bid of, 527 for the video. I doubt it's going to go for that much, but you never know. All right. So Colin said $2.50. Chrissy said $1.50. Phil has gone 1 cent. You can put 1 cent bids at that. You've taken that off Christy, actually. Moneybag Sullivan said 50. Guy said 35, Michael, good to see Michael joining the show, which is absolutely fantastic at 20. Williams at 5. Kelvin's at 10. Bob's gone for 64 dirty bitches. And I like this one up here. Yeah, dirty bitches done dirt cheap. Exactly right. And Joe's gone for $2 on behalf of Greg King. So what does everybody think? It's a videotape now, as we've discussed before. Videotapes, by and large, are completely useless. Nobody wants them. They can't be really be watched on a big screen TV. But that doesn't mean that there's no collectability. Get that man a glass of water. I've got the water, but it's not working.
Yeah. Well, the other thing
I'm doing the best I can under very trying and difficult circumstances, but I will plow on. So there you go. You may laugh at my misery that's occurring here at the moment. So sorry, go. You're going to say something?
I am laughing at your misery. The other thing to point out about this one, it is an X-Video library one, which is the harder tapes to find.
Yeah, you can tell from the video thing up the top here, which is kind of funny because they tend to be unbelievably used and abused. All right, so what do you reckon it all went for? Hold your breath for an hour or so. Yes, everybody would love to see me do that on the air. So the old Count Duckula VHS videotape, The Vampire Strikes Back, which I actually think is a very, very nice title. One bid only. How much? I like the boo. Did that frighten them away? No, he did not at this stage. And it went for a whopping. This is the countdown. Oh, it went for a whopping $1. What do you reckon of that, Mr. Aaron?
Yeah, I didn't think it was worth much more than that either. But it is one of those things I did think was unusual. I was looking at Count Duckula for tonight's episode and found this and thought, I wouldn't mind watching some of that. I haven't watched it for ages.
Very good. And Christy, you get 50 cents back. So how good is that? So yes, to sell an next rental video for $1 is probably about standard too. But is that the theme for the rest of the episode? Well, the rest of this segment. So let's just find out.
Shrek. Another kids' classic. This is the original Shrek. PG was a big hit when it came out. Probably everyone knows about it. Has it got any value on video?
And notice there's 3 bids as well. So there's a little bit of competition for this. So some people are going to say, I used to have this once upon a time and gave it the piff once DVDs came into play and all the rest of it. So what do you reckon it went for? So Andrew's gone for 20. Colin's gone for 45. Christy's gone for 3 cents. What does everybody else think? The Shrek VHS. Joe's gone for 2. Moneybag Sullivan's gone for 10. Guy's gone for 75. What does everybody else think it is worth? Is it going to be a little gem or is it going to be just like a boat anchor that someone's going to pip out of a car window? William's gone for 10. Bob's gone for 22. Kelvin's gone for 77. Wow, that's a hell of a lot for a good old Shrek video. What do you reckon everyone thinks? So it's the Shrek VHS. That's all. That's all they've said. No mention about the quality or the condition or the whether it's brand new or not. And Phil's gone for $3. So how much do you reckon it went for, fans? It went with 3 bids. It went for a whopping 60 cents. How can you have 60-cent bids there, Mr. Aaron? What's the deal with that?
Well, they all bid 20 farquans each, didn't they? And it got to 60 cents. But obviously, that's a sell-through one, and there were a billion of them sold, so that one's never going to be worth anything. So I'm not surprised that went for 60 cents. I am surprised that some of the informed VHS collectors on our show tonight bid things like $77 for Shrek. I've got a bridge I want to sell you.
Yeah, Joe, you don't not only get it, you also get $1.30 back as well. So, so very, very excuse me, very, very cool, nice and cheap. So
wasn't Christie closer at 3 cents?
Nah, because you got to add 57 cents. Oh, hang on. Oh, I suppose no. She said 1 cent. I think if I recall. Or maybe you did, Christy. Maybe you did get it. 3 cents. 70 cents. Yeah, okay, Christy, it's all yours. There you go. Merry Christmas. Sorry, Joe, you lose it. So
Sorry,
there you
Joe.
go. Christy asked you about, just very quickly, did you pick up any of the VCRs from the Waterhouse? Quick answer.
10,000 plus.
No,
Oh,
the VCRs, not the videos.
VCRs, about 40 players there were.
Good stuff. Excuse me. All right, and you are right. Plus $8 for postage. That's just rubbish for a 60-cent item. All right, here we go. Next one. Oh, bulk lots, mate.
Well, bulk lots, it's the same. The crazy thing about this, usually when you get a bulk lot, it might be, volumes 1 to 10, but this is 8 copies of the same Pokemon movie. So these are new, unused, sealed bulk lot of Pokemon, the first movie, VHS. If you think you like one of them, why not buy 8?
And there were 45 bids. So take note of that. And I can't imagine this went for 60 cents. So what does everybody think? Yeah, 30 burps. Yeah, exactly. Oh, they're not burps, they're hiccups. But yes. Excuse me. So there were 45 bids for 8 videos. So what do you reckon it went for? So Colin's gone for 30. Andrew's gone for $7.95. Chrissy's gone for 45 cents. Michael's gone for 100. So what does everybody else think they went for? Pokemon, the first movie VHS tape, sealed and unused. Bob's gone for 200, which is very, very cool. I mean, they are still videos. Remember, just 8 of them, exactly the same thing. So what do you reckon it was? Guy's gone for 80. Kelvin's gone for 35 cents. Phil's gone for 30. William's gone for 50. So, yes, very, very cool. There we go. Rusky Babes has gone for 800. Well, that's like almost $100 a tape. And Joe's gone for $8. So yes, very interesting. It's a bit of an unknown, isn't it? Because you're thinking, well, they're videos. Videos is a dead technology. They're brand new. That's great. But who's going to watch them? What are you going to do with 8 of the damn things? So except for them jacking up your car or something. So you do have to wonder what the deal is. And of course, there were 45 bids. So there's a bit of competition for this. So how much do you reckon it went for, fans? Bulk lot of 8 Pokemon, the film, first movie VHS tape, sealed and unused. They went for a whopping $780, Mr. Aaron. That is exactly $100 a tape. What do you reckon, practically? So Rusky Babes has done well.
Right on it almost.
So no, that was actually, sorry, you've been pinged by $5 by Ange. How's that?
$100 a tape, and wow, that's pretty good. The crazy thing about this is I nearly did one auction of one of these tapes sealed that went for more than the auction of 8. So obviously when you have a brand new sealed tape and you've got collectors that are after it, particularly something like Pokemon, the people aren't actually ever going to watch it. They just want it as a Pokemon collectible. And, there are some Doctor Who tapes and horror tapes we've seen in the past that go for this much. And Pokemon is another one of those where there's a lot of collectors.
I don't get it because I show you might want one of them, but having 8 of them is just a bit excessive. And if you can't resell them, I mean, there obviously is a market because they're 45 bids.
Dags, you know nothing about Pokemon. You've got to get them all.
So you keep telling me. So there you go. And then, of course, you find out there was actually a 9th one that these guys missed out on and go, oh, my God, that would, yeah, exactly right. I agree with you. That price would give me the hiccups. Yes, indeedy doody didy. That's just absolutely crazy. All right, so here we go. Let's move on. Oh, bit of Lion King.
The Lion King, one of the biggest Disney movies ever, which means it was also one of the biggest selling home videos ever. Back in the day when this came out, Disney videos were released in cycles. So if you didn't grab them when they came out, it was like meant to be 20 years or something before they were reissued again. So of course, when The Lion King came out, everyone went and got one, which means this tape would be worth absolutely nothing now, wouldn't it, Dags?
Apparently so. So what does everybody think? The Lion King, practically in everybody's video collection at some point in their lives, except for mine, because I certainly didn't have it. What does everybody else think? Andrew's gone for, I assume that to be 1 cent. Colin's gone $50. Holy guacamole. Ange has gone for, it was supposed to be $5.01. Yeah, right up. Good stuff. One Pumba. One of the characters, was it?
Yes.
All right, $1 then, I'm assuming.
You can be
Andrew, Michael's got $1,000. Oh, dude, Michael, where are you going with that? By contrast, Chrissy's gone for 2 cents. Moneybag Sullivan's gone for 50 cents. Guy's gone for 90 cents. Jesus, there's obviously not a lot of value in this. Kelvin's gone for $1.78. Phil's just gone for 0.1. I shouldn't have to be 1 cent as well. So clearly this video, which once generated millions of dollars worth of revenue for whoever Walt Disney, is now not worth a damn thing. And William's gone for $10. So what do you reckon, everybody? So the Lion King VHS, very good. That's all they've said. So clearly they've just dug it out of the video cabinet, excuse me. And let's just piss it off, stick it on eBay, get rid of the damn thing. So how much you reckon it went for, fans? It went for a whopping $7.
It's disappointing. It's a good movie. I think The Lion King's worth more than $7, don't you, Dags?
Do you reckon? All right, so there you go. So William gets, and guess what, William, you get $3 back. Absolutely fantastic. Now we're going to show you something a little bit different, fans, because guess what? We've just had the Lion King video. Awesome. Now we've got the Lion King video.
Let's have another go. Let's have another go at this Lion King. It's meant to be a good movie. Surely we can get more than $7. Now, those who've watched the show know when we do stuff like this, there's usually a contrast in the price. Is it going to be a 1 cent one, or is it going to be a couple of $100? You can take your pick, because that's what the thing's all about, guessing what it'll go for. Do you think it will be? Will people give the same guesses as they gave last time?
Yeah, very, very good. So Ange has gone to nine grand. Dude, it's a videotape. What are you doing, Ange? We're taking this, taking this seriously. So there you go. Okay, Moneybag Sullivan's gone back to 50 cents. Chrissy's up the bid by 1 cent to 2 cents. Phil's gone back to 1 cent again. William's gone for $2. So clearly everybody thinks that this is exactly the same as the previous one. Rebecca, good to see you joining the what do you call it? The bids. 17 cents I shouldn't have to be. Kelvin's gone for $6.95. Bob's upped his by 1, 2 pumbers. And Greg King has gone for the $2. So the half the $2, that's $1. Oh my God, this hiccups are killing me. So what does everybody else think? Okay, we just had a Lion King VHS. This one is in very good condition, absolutely outstanding. There's going to be a handful of photographs there looking really, really cool. What do you reckon it went for? There was one bid, one dude went in. Maybe they missed the last one. They said, all right, fine. If the last one went for $7, I'll put an extra $1. Maybe it'll go for $8. How much you reckon it went for? It went for a whopping. Now, you've got to ask yourself, is that a real one, or is that just someone pulling our chain there, Mr. Aaron?
Now, what I did, I looked at the seller, and I looked at what they were selling, and I looked at the past sales, and that's a genuine bid. Some sellers, just put all of their products on at stupid prices, buy it now, and just they sit there for years and years until they get one stooge who doesn't do any research and buys it. So that is the same edition and the same tape, an Australian one, as the one we saw go for $7 or $6 in the last auction, and this one sold for $8,000. Now, the really cool thing is we only do Australian auctions because it's a local Australian show. I was looking at the prices of videos, and some of the cartoon Disney ones in particular in the States have gone through the roof. And I used to think they were fake bids, but it seems some of them really are going for thousands and thousands of dollars each now. So obviously this guy was getting on top of it before it went up, way out of his price range.
So, Ange, I got a question for you. What made you put in nine grand? Because that's clearly way out of the ballpark. Did you know something about this already, or did you just decided to do something silly? So I'm just curious to see whether you had a bit of upfront knowledge. So there you go. I agree with you, Kelvin. It is strange, and it makes no sense. If you brought that home to your other half and said, I spent $8 grand on this videotape, especially considering both people don't play videos anymore, you'd be going, all right, you definitely need your head read. Ange said a stupid bid. Well, it was tell you what, you did very, very well. So, yeah.
Just for anyone who's on eBay buying and selling, what I do find leading up to Christmas is you get people who do not look on eBay and do not do any eBay searches or research, and they start getting Christmas wish from maybe their kids or maybe relatives, and they just type in The Lion King, and just go for the first one that's there, and it might go for a stupid price or they might get it cheap, but they are just not eBay literate. Now, that is obviously an extreme at $8,000, but I have seen that stuff happen just because someone doesn't do the research and doesn't care about how much it costs. They're just getting stuff for someone else.
Well, you can clearly see why there was only one bid. So Anyway, whatever. So we do see, we do see crazy stuff in the show. Some things sell ridiculously cheap. Some go extremely expensive. Overall, though, for the most part, it is all just crazy, crazy stuff. All right, so that's the end of the eBay stuff. Very, very cool. Now, before people go and get themselves a cup of coffee, it's commercial time. We've got 2 commercials, so don't run away, kids. So first off, as advertised last week, we are having our special Christmas thank you dinner for viewers of this show and Sci-Fi Zone and all the rest of it on the 17th of December at the Matthew Flinders Hotel. Absolutely fantastic. There are limited numbers, as there always will be. So we're requesting anybody who wants to come along and join us for a bit of fun and frivolity and talking about the show and having some laughs. It'll be absolutely spectacular. And as an absolute bonus, if Andrea is watching this episode, she's going to go completely off a nut because the Vile will actually be joining us in the flesh, as it were. So you two can be violated at this dinner, Mr. Aaron. What do you reckon?
Yeah, well, I do think, like Comic-Con, as we go along, we will be revealing more and more guests that will be in attendance. Now, whether those guests actually attract anyone, I guess remains to be seen. But yep, we will be there the 17th of December. We're aiming for about 8 o'clock. We probably will have to book because it's getting to the Christmas end of the year where you get Christmas parties and stuff. But we would love to catch up with everyone in person for a change and talk about the year and collectibles and anything really, and eat some good food.
So 2 things. You need to let us know if you wish to attend. If to attend, don't just turn up, because otherwise we have to book a table and all the rest of it. And if you are outside of that, you'll probably be put on a different table somewhere else. And of course, you've got to pay your own way. Greg King, who will be joining us that night, by the way, we're serving them dinner. I tell you what, I don't serve dinner. What can I say? But the only thing I make for dinner is reservations, as they say. So very, very cool. Andrew said 8 p.m. No, actually, it's probably more of a 7 p.m. thing, by the way. So, because Aaron and I were coming from the store, so we're probably looking at 7 o'clock. But yeah, if you want to join us, you just got to let us know, and we can slot you in, which should be very, very cool, Mr. Aaron. What do you reckon? Bit of a sit back and hang out and do some nerdy stuff. So yes,
yeah, and actually just get to talk to everyone rather than the choice comments that come up on the side of the screen.
Lovely. And will the capitalist dog be there? You mean this guy? Press the wrong button, didn't I? So there you go. Yes.
I will be there, and I might be supplying a crap Kris Kringle. Who knows?
Yeah, you never know. Absolutely fantastic. So how should we RSVP? What do you reckon, Mr. Aaron? What's the easiest way to do it? Just say so here or what?
So probably Dags, I think you're going to look after the booking. So maybe message Dags or message me and I can pass it on to Dags.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. And this is also for people who are watching the replay as well. So it's not just for the live viewers as well, but you do need to get your nose in early because we'll probably book at least our 1 table for ourselves. And if there's an overflow, they'll end up, somewhere else. But yes, it should be kind of cool. But yes, if you want to leave a message here, I suppose it's the easiest way. We'll still promote this in the next couple of weeks before we lock down the numbers. It should be very, very cool. So anyway, it's a bit of a thank you to our viewers. And it should be a bit of a laugh. Now, speaking of things that's coming up, of course, as was mentioned at the very, very start of the show, yes, tomorrow night is the last episode, believe it or not, of the old Who Report. And that means, of course, Mr. Greg, Mr. Aaron are going to be yapping on about the old Docky Who, and it's going to be awesome. So what do you reckon, Mr. Aaron? Good stuff.
Yep. So it's another jam-packed show because there's news and a whole lot of stuff happening at the moment with Doctor Who. So if you are into Docky Who, as Dags calls it, the Who Report tomorrow is the show for you. So that's on the Sci-Fi Zone channel, also at 8 o'clock, and we go for about an hour.
Fantastic. Is Ronnie coming? Yep, we're going to find some random dude out in the street. We're just going to say, dude, just pretend you're Ronnie. No one's ever going to know any different. Just bring in a package that looks like a small home for hobbits. And I tell you what, you'll be the most popular guy there. So what can I say? Very, very cool. Now, before we move on to our next bit, just a reminder for fans out there, don't forget to check out, excuse me, fucking hell. Check our socials, Instagrams and Twitters and that. There's all these other shows coming on. It's all very, very good. There's a lot of stuff to check out. We've been around for a while, so it should be a bit of a blast. And, of course, if you can't do that, then by all means, check out Aaron's store, Mr. Aaron. How good's this?
Yes, our store is bombed out. As anyone knows, we've been putting tons and tons of stock in from a deceased estate, so you can't move around, you can't find anything. And that is why you should come down and buy something so we can make some room to fit all you guys in.
Excellento stuff. All right, guess what? It is now time He's on the 16th. Okay. Oh, there you go. Oh, sorry, William, your birthday's on this. Bring her along. Easy as. There, no problem. I used to love when people say, "Oh, I'd love to go, but I've got a wedding on." It's like, mate, move the wedding to the event. It's all good. We cater for everybody. So, love it. Very, very good. All right. Well, guess what, fans? For the first time in this next hour, I don't have to say so much because it's now time for our feature present that thing. Over to you, dude.
Feature presentation, and this is part 2 of the one we started last week, which is looking at the collectibles and just a nostalgic view of the afternoon television that we used to come home from school to enjoy. Everything from the ABC and the afternoon show to the commercial stations and a bit of extra from all over the place as well. So if you enjoyed last week, it's a bit more of the same, but just with different shows.
Very good. And you're going to kick it off with a little bit of this.
What you doing, what you thinking, what you dreaming of, what you reading, what you making, what you playing of, what you win and what you lose, what you choose, what you riding, what you feeling, what you wishing for, what you fading, what you hearing, what you waiting for, what you know and what you want, what you don't,
Hopefully you heard that. I didn't realize the sound was going to be so soft, but there you go.
There you go. So I don't know if everyone remembers Wombat. There was a few after school shows that if you grew up in Australia at that certain age in the 80s, that everyone used to watch one of them. And there was Simon Townsend's Wonderworld, and there was Shirl's Neighborhood that we took a look at last week. There was Come On Kids and a few others, but this week we're looking at Wombat. And Wombat is an interesting one because it actually started life as a local show up in Queensland, and you can see it looks like it was filmed live at Dreamworld. That's was a really interesting intro because Dreamworld is gone now, and I remember going there as a kid a couple of times, and I didn't realize that the Wombat opening was filmed there. But the thing that Wombat did was launch a lot of careers. And I know everyone's going to say Wombat is most famous, of course, for the Blakely twins, but no, there's a smaller, hairier person that got launched on this show. And I know you're going to say, yeah, Fiona McDonald, but no, we're talking about Agro. And Agro is one of those classic Australian characters that isn't really an Australian character at all. I don't know if anyone knows the origin of Agro, but basically they needed a puppet for Wombat, and they go, well, let's get Animal and modify him. And if you look, I found a picture there. It's a Fisher-Price Animal, and you can tell by the teeth. They changed a lot of stuff. They cut his eyebrows down a bit and give him bigger pupils on his eyes, but the teeth are an identical match. So if we were homicide detectives and we were matching a body by the teeth, Animal and Agro are exactly the same. So anything that Agro does, you can blame back on his animal genes coming back from that puppet. Did you ever watch Wombat growing up, or Agro's cartoon collection, I guess, Dags?
I just saw bits of them. I think I was probably a little bit too old for this, but I was in the mid-teens at this point. But it's interesting. You're talking about like the puppet, the Agro, and the animal, right? It's mainly the eyes, right? I mean, you have a couple of other bits, as you said, as the eyebrows have changed and the fur, but it's the eyes that have done it. So it's amazing how they have to like the eyes of the windows to the soul, and yeah, and it's really quite astounding because you are right. At face value, you wouldn't really notice it. Rusky says it's amazing they didn't get sued. Probably nobody even knew about it. It's probably been done. It's the old 10% rule. You make a change to something, and of course, most people wouldn't have picked up on the fact it was animal, as you said, only because of the teeth. So yeah.
Well, the thing is, if we stay on this slide for a little bit, because there's a few interesting things. Agro is synonymous with Jamie Dunn, who is Agro's voice and does the puppetry and has made a career out of being Agro. what people don't know, Aggro originally wasn't Jamie Dunn. He was just a presenter on Wombat, and it was only when Jamie Dunn took over that he became such a unique personality. And it was mainly because of his irreverent humor, and he would never do anything that he was meant to. What we were saying before about did they get sued? They didn't get sued, but what it meant was there aren't many Aggro dolls, because if you've taken somebody else's toy, a Fisher Price toy, and just modified it a bit, then when you go to make your own toy of it, then someone goes, no, hang on a second, you can't do that. And if you look at the Aggro toys that we eventually got, none of them are really good likenesses of Aggro, and that is because they just couldn't do it. They couldn't get it too close to the original Aggro because it was a Fisher Price toy, and you just can't take someone else's toy, modify it, and then call it your own toy. So something that was a throwaway action, we need to get like a puppet for this show, quick, let's just get one off the shelf and change it a bit, probably cost them millions and millions of dollars in merchandising rights down the track when Aggro became a superstar within himself and was hosting Tonight Live with Steve Vizard or one of the contestants on Wheel of Fortune. At one point, Aggro really was everywhere.
Yeah, it probably comes under the heading of, like, as you said, they needed the puppet. They put the puppet in thinking, oh, it's okay, it'll do the job. And then it becomes a superstar breakout character. And it's like, well, we've kind of created a monster. If they hadn't known that was going to happen in advance, they probably would have created the puppet from scratch. So as you said, they could really merchandise it properly. But sometimes these things you can't plan for. It just it just happens. and and it's just like, and afterwards you go, well, who knew? So yeah, absolutely fantastic. But you are right. I mean, some people have said they liked Aggro. Some people like. He said he wasn't. Kelvin said, excuse me, he said he wasn't, but a few people were. But of course, Aggro was the main character for the show, and of course, was the one that got a bit of merchandise.
Yeah, indeed. If you look there is one Wombat activity book that didn't have Aggro. Before Aggro was the breakout character, there was actually a little animated Wombat that would be the break between each segment. It was a magazine show for kids, for anyone who never saw it, and they would have different sort of reporters going out and looking at different special interest stories, and there was an animated Wombat. But then I guess they wanted something that was more kid-friendly or more dynamic, and they added Aggro. So after that one program book there that didn't have Aggro, they introduced Aggro, and he dominated the merchandise for the rest of the time. So a lot of it wasn't dolls and puppets because they just couldn't. But you can see a big selection of stuff where he released CDs, and he had a range of toys produced at Hungry Jack's based on him. He is one of the few iconic Australian puppets that have had a lot of merchandise done for them. When we looked at Shell's neighborhood, there wasn't much around. I have half a dozen Aggro show bags as well. So Aggro had show bags. The stuff from the show bags is actually quite hard to get. We'll look a bit later. He had a Nintendo game, which is again unusual for something local. You have to have the Shane Warne's cricket or be Aggro, otherwise it's just imported games from overseas. Aggro is very, very collectible. His merchandise is not easy to find, and when it is found, it's usually in pretty poor condition.
Yeah, there was some stories going around behind the scenes, sort of stories that went around because he's a puppet and the puppeteer's underneath, and he's the puppet up there, and he's talking to the girls off camera. Excuse me, really, really filthy and rude and crude stuff was coming because you don't realize it's actually a human being controlling you to actually think the thing's alive. And there's some stories come back about some of the comments that came out of Aggro's mouth. Is like, oh, they're just so adult because he's a filthy dude, effectively.
There is a behind the scenes bloopers on YouTube, and he is absolutely filthy, some of the stuff he says. But I remember as a kid, I don't know if it went out live or if they just let it through. I remember an incident on, it was, I think, the Cartoon Connection that I can't find on YouTube. And he's saying to Anne-Marie, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. I'm going to come out naked. Everyone's going to see me nude. And she's like, don't do it, Aggro, don't do it. And then just a hand comes up. And he goes, I told you I was going to do it. This is Aggro naked. And I was like, you can't do that on TV. One of the big things, you don't show the kids that there's a person inside the puppet. And Aggro just went and did it on primetime television. So he broke the rules, and a lot of people love him for that because everybody loves a bad boy.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And as puppets, they can get away with a hell of a lot. So, yeah.
Yep. So you can see Aggro had temporary tattoos. But the really rare one there, I mean, who would have saved that? There's the aggravation ice lolly, and someone's got the shop display from Streets or Peter's Ice Cream that was up in a milk bar somewhere. Now that's the top level of just rarity when you can find stuff like that. Aggro is already a unique Australian character that doesn't have a lot of merchandise existing. To find something like that, that's probably one of the rarest things if you were a collector to try and track down something like that. There's the Game Boy game I was talking about. And again, he must have had such a huge following for, you know, most of the games that we get in Australia are not done by Australian developers. They're just the American versions ported over to PAL from the NTSC or from Japan. But they obviously thought that there was a big enough market to release an aggro game, because I tell you, that wasn't going to sell in America or anywhere else, was it?
No, unless they redrew it and put it back to the animal character from the Muppets. So, yeah, very, very cool there, Mr. Aaron. So, but yeah, you are right. The show is called Wombat, and it's not even the Wombat that anybody gives a shit about. It's the puppet.
Along the bottom of that one there, along the bottom of that slides as well, there was one of the few other pieces of merchandise that featured one of the other cast members from Wombat, because Aggro really did take over. So he released some albums, and you can see Fiona McDonald managed to get on the cover of one of them. So Fiona and Aggro, that must have been right at the beginning, because she wasn't in the later seasons of Wombat. So that was when Aggro's star was still rising. And then after that, he was just a solo artist and never looked back. So Aggro is one of those breakout Australian characters that is still remembered very fondly today.
Which is funny, because you'll say to people, "Do you remember Aggro from the show?" They go, "Yep." "Do you remember Fiona?" "No." Yeah, it's the way it goes. All right, so that's the good old Wombats come and gone. Now we're going to go into something completely left field. I've never even heard of this before, and but here we go with our one slide wonder, good old Chocky.
So this is one of those shows that a lot of kids grew up with and remember quite well, because it was scary and freaky. And one of the things that you remember as a kid is if there is something particularly scary. I thought it was Fiona McDonald. Yes, she was. And she was also the host of It's a Knockout, I think, for a while, or for quite a while. But Chocky was one of those British shows, and I think in the UK and in Britain and Europe, maybe, they used to scare the shit out of kids a lot more than they did locally. So these shows would land every couple of years, and they would sear themselves onto children's minds because they would be so creepy and so scary. And Chocky is one of those shows. I don't know how many people remember it. It ran for 3 seasons. That people still come in, and when you're talking about Doctor Who and the goodies and Monkey, someone will go, "Oh, do you remember Chocky? That used to freak me out." And Chocky was about a telepathic alien that sort of came down and befriended a boy, and then things sort of got worse and worse. I watched it growing up, and then Chocky's Children, and then the last series was Chocky's Challenge. So there was a trilogy of Chocky series. And it is one of those shows. It was by John Wyndham, who is very famous in sci-fi writing circles. I don't know if you've read any of his stuff, Dags, but he wrote Day of the Triffids and Midwich Cuckoos, which is the Village of the Damned, and the Kraken Wakes, and a lot of those sort of very seminal sci-fi shows. So he was big on, I guess William would have all the DVDs, because they are sort of that classic British children's sci-fi. But it comes from a great heritage. It was a great TV show. There is virtually no merchandise. The books already existed because they were based on books from the 50s. And there's a couple of newspaper clippings, and that's it. For such a well-remembered and well-respected show, you can buy the DVDs. I couldn't even find they were released on video. So one of those things that there's fond memories, but not much merch.
People say to me, "Do I like Chocky?" And I said, "No, but I like his brother, Chocky late." Anyway. Doesn't give me hiccups to look at all chocolate, that's for sure. But oh, excuse me. But yes, it's very funny. You hear the word Chocky, you automatically think of Chucky, and of course, it's a completely different show. But yes, interesting. Yes, aliens befriending kids. Isn't that a classic trope that can sometimes go in wrong directions? Wrong directions. What do you reckon, Mr. Aaron?
Yeah, it's funny you said that, because when I Googled Chocky, Siri kept saying to me, "Do you mean Chucky?" So
Yeah.
not only were you thinking that, but we're staying on the topic of aliens, I think. I think the next one is another after-school show that was quite popular, and this one ran for a couple of years. This was The Tripods, that was based again on a famous series of books, the Tripod trilogy, which then became a quadrilogy after this because they wrote a prequel by, I think it was John Christopher, and there was 3 books, and they managed to write get the first 2 series of the 2 books, and then it wasn't popular enough and they cancelled it, which is really disappointing because the second series was particularly good. Did you watch the Tripods, Dags?
Nah, sorry, dude. I have heard of it, but I didn't. Once again, the timing probably just didn't work for me. I had limited TV access as a young dude. And of course, once I became an older dude, I was into cars, into girls, and TV sort of took a back seat. So,
yeah.
But there you go.
So the Tripods is a bit notorious because it was one of the shows that when Doctor Who was cancelled, the BBC said, look, we're putting all our money into stuff like this. And everyone said, well, Doctor Who is a better show than this. So are the memories flooding back? The ABC, yes. The Tripod, interestingly, it was Channel 7 because the Tripods was co-funded by Channel 7. It is one of those few international shows that someone in Australia put money into. So I don't know if it ever was repeated on the ABC, but it was on Channel 7. And I really loved it. I remember coming home from school. It seemed like weeks after weeks after weeks and watching the adventures of the Tripods. But it only ran for 2 years and they were both short seasons. There was a little bit of merchandise for the Tripods.
Oh, I thought at the very least it should have gone for 3 seasons.
Yes. So the beginning of Tripods was heralded by a cover of the Tripods on the Radio Times, and the books there's the trilogy, and you can see the artwork where it joins together over the 3 books, which as a kid I always thought was particularly cool when the books joined together to make one big picture. There was a magazine. Now we've looked at Look-In magazine over the last few weeks for having unique content of British comics and different shows that they put in comic book form. I had never heard of the Beeb magazine before. I don't know if it was very short run or not too popular, but Beeb magazine had a color comic book running of the Tripods. I don't know how many issues it went for, but it was interesting to see that again, it was that very British style of comic book rather than the American Marvel DC style. And it was part of, a weekly strip that you got 2 pages a week and you had to collect them all to see the story unfold. And then, of course, when the TV series came out, they reissued the original books with the TV show covers. So if you're a particular fan of the TV show, you can track down the TV editions of the paperback books, which is interesting because they do all 3 books, but the TV show only did the first 2.
Very good.
And one of the things I would have loved to get, but I didn't even know it was around at the time, there was apparently an interactive Tripods game on the Commodore 64 and other systems. Now, I don't know if Russell had this or knew about it. It would have been one of those things I would have loved as a kid, but I never really saw it. And you can see in science fiction, among science fiction magazines, it did get a bit of interest. There's a cover there from the second series debut in TV Zone with one of the aliens. And I have to say, for the time and for a show that was sort of on the same budget of Doctor Who, the aliens actually looked quite good. They were 3-legged and they were the size of a person, but they were practical. And so you couldn't really tell how they were done. They were quite well done. And the Tripods, at the time, the Tripods looked great. The thing you wanted to see the most in the episodes was Tripods stomping through towns and cities, War of the Worlds like. Now they look a little bit dated. You can tell they're, CSO overlay with chroma key and all of that, and they're just puppets. The one thing that really disappoints me, and again, this might be another one for Russell, I'm really disappointed there is no Tripod model kit or models. There seems to be 3D printed ones that fans have made and maybe some garage kits, but it just seems a no-brainer. If you're the BBC and you're headlining a show called The Tripods, surely get a company to put out a model kit or a toy of said tripod.
Yeah, maybe they thought there just wasn't a market for it, or they would have thought people would have confused it with the War of the Worlds machines. Either that, you could have just adapted a War of the Worlds machine instead. But because when you see anything with 3 legs, you automatically think of War of the Worlds. So yeah, cool.
I guess that's true. And of course, these did get video releases, and I remember them being quite popular. I do remember These were ones I bought at the time. Usually import videos were quite expensive, but I really loved the tripods and got it. And I was really, really disappointed that they didn't complete the trilogy. You almost feel ripped off when you get invested in a show and you know it's a trilogy. There's only 3 books and they say they're going to do it all, and it gets cancelled again by Michael Grade, who cancelled Doctor Who 2 series in. And I do think it was very short-sighted, because if they could complete that 3rd series, surely in the long run it has a lot more potential to earn money in repeats and people buying it, because people like sets. If I had known they weren't going to make the 3 series, I might have not bought it. I might have said, well, I know I'm not going to see the end, so what's the point? So I do think it was very short-sighted at the time to be pouring money into this and then stopping it when they only had 1 series to go.
Yeah, and like it's very funny. Like at the time, a lot of people, as you said, would be very upset that it's gotten cancelled. That it's not continuing. The letter writing campaigns and all the rest of it. But in time, people just move on and it gets forgotten, and that's it. It's just a part of history now. So, I mean, chances are this is the first time the tripods has been brought up on any kind of show in the modern age, probably for decades. So yeah, but it's good that it's still around and people still remember it, which is kind of cool.
Well, there has been a movie version in development hell for about 20 years. They've been trying to make the movie of it, which I kind of think after they brought out the War of the Worlds, well, you can't beat that now, can you? But it is an interesting show, and you're absolutely right. It was very big at the time, and it's still very forgotten, but a lot of people have fond memories when you bring it up.
So, as Rusky Babe said, Lou Gray actually backed tripods and gave a Doctor Who time slot, but pulled out when it failed. And unfortunately, some shows are just going to do that. They're going to run their course. Some of them just run out of puff. Some are just cut off at their prime. But, people move on. And, the actors and that, they say, all right, it's finished, gone. And that's it. Done and dusted. It's all just and you think of all the thousands upon thousands of TV shows that you've loved that were all cut when they were just picking up their pace. And you go, well, it's a shame. I mean, there's some classic examples, but you just accept it for being what it is. So
absolutely true. Maybe we'll do a show on some point of shows that were cancelled just as they were finding their feet. There's a lot of stuff like the new V and
Firefly is the obvious one.
Firefly,
and Crusade and whatever. There's a long list of them. And of course, by the same token, some people can say, well, look, at least we've got something. We can enjoy it and savor it and go from there, rather than saying it never existed at all. All right, so we jump the other side of the Atlantic over to America now, and this is a good example of a show where they say, okay, this is the gimmick. We're going to chuck it in the show, center everything around this particular gimmick, and just see how long it lasts. And gimmick shows by default tend to sort of run out of puff pretty quickly. But I remember when this came out, it was like, oh, this was really successful. And of course, it screened over here, and it was a massive hit, and it was good old Alf.
And Alf did run for years and years. And when I was doing this, I was thinking, I can't believe Alf had hundreds of episodes and they cancelled the tripods after 2 seasons. But it really does show you, if you can sit a sitcom in a house and it's got 1 set and it's got like a limited cast of characters, and one of the characters is charismatic enough that it can carry the show and the plot over and over and over, you really have the winning formula for making money and its success. And this was one of those shows. I think if anyone less charismatic had played Alf, it would have bombed.
Just going back to tripods, this is an interesting point regarding the casting. Rod, that's a friend of Russell's, said the problem was that the heroes were all a bunch of adrics. And I guess, in other words, the characters were useless to a large degree. And that would be a major problem. You go, you've got a great idea. It's awesome, but you can't. It's too late now to recast everybody and start from scratch. You just got to work with what you got. And maybe if it's aimed at a children's audience, you can afford to sort of do that. But there's going to point where they go, all right, now it's not worth producing. So maybe that's got something to do with tripods' failure. So anyway, so just go on.
Sorry, yeah. So Alf was a big success when it came out, and it was an interesting show, and it was for a sitcom of its time, and for the premise, it was quite well written. I do remember at the time everybody watched it. It was one of those shows that was popular. It was an after school show. It was also a primetime show that was shown later at night when it gained popularity. It was one of those shows that had a lot of merchandise, books and comic books and all that kind of thing hit really, really fast. I still have my Alf doll and 12-inch stuck on Earth vinyl, which he, like a lot of people from the time, became a pop star with You're the One That's Out of This World and Stuck on Earth and a few other things.
So Kelvin's right. Elf does stand for alien life form. For those who didn't know, Joe's asked who played him. It probably would have been a puppeteer of some sort. Probably a couple of puppeteers. So
It was a diminutive actor, a little person who actually passed away quite recently, and then there was a puppeteer as well. So you'd often see the thing they do where the long shot, someone walks into behind the couch, and then the puppet pops up from behind the couch. So they had all different ways of changing who was playing Alf.
I do remember when the show was being produced, people said, "Oh, how's it being done?" And it's like, "Oh, it's top secret. We're not telling anybody as to what's going on." I was like, dude, it's a freaking puppet. You know, it's not the end of the earth. But maybe that's it. They weren't letting loose in the fact that there was a dude in the outfit. But just like we said with the aggro, you know, there are things that an alien can do that human beings can't do or say, and they can get away with it because it's like, oh, okay, we can't relate to this character because it's clearly an alien life form. And they can, you look at it from two perspectives. One, the aliens trying to integrate into Earth as we know it, and also they can say things you go, oh, geez, no person could ever say that. But that's part of the gag, and of course, being a comedy, they could do it and get away with it. So, and he was the central focus. Now, of course, you can say to a lot of people, Elf is the main dude. Who's everybody else? Who are all the humans? And I think most people would have no frigging idea who the other characters were because Elf was the main character.
Well, it was the Tanner family. Alf landed with the Tanners, and of course, everyone remembers their cat Lucky, which was pretty inappropriately named.
So you are right. So you know the cat's name. You know it's the Tanner family. But if you say, I mean, I'm just being facetious. I'm not expecting you to know or anybody to know. Say, what was the name of the father, the mother, the daughter, the son? People go, no freaking idea, because Alf was just the star. There was just one spotlight on him, and of course, all the merchandise was just for him. Is that right, dude?
Exactly. And I have to say what you were saying was absolutely right. He got away with a lot of stuff. And when I watched some of Alf to look for at this show, it reminded me of last week looking at Metal Mickey, where I was like, I cannot believe like the innuendo that this puppet is using, like Metal Mickey used, which would not get away with today. But there you go. That was one of the appeals of Alf. You are 100% right. 90% of the Alf merchandise centered on Alf. You can see on all the books there, all of them are Alf books, but you've got one German paperback down the bottom that has the little boy, and then you've got the older sister on one of the colouring books. So no one wanted to see the humans. It's like Harry and the Hendersons. Who wants to see the Hendersons? Everyone wants to see Harry.
I completely forgot about this, but as Angie, Gordon Shumway was the character's name. That's what they sort of gave him. Is that right? I don't remember.
It was revealed in one episode. They're like, why does everyone call me Alf? That's not my name. And they're like, you never told us your name. And he's like, oh, it's Gordon Shumway. And I think that was in one of the episodes where he was getting messages from an ex-girlfriend as well. But I could be wrong. It's a long time ago since I watched Alf.
Moneybags has said the dad's name was Willie. That's a bad name for a dude. But anyway, mum's name was Kate. The son was Brian. Can't remember the daughter's name. Oh, mate, Moneybags, if you can't get all four of them, you suck.
He sucks, Willie.
Go back to nerd school, Moneybags. You're useless to me.
Yeah, I just remember Alf would say a lot of the time, yo, Willie, my man, and yo, Lucky, my man. And the cat would always run off.
Guys said John Lithgow. I think you're thinking of Third Rock from the Sun. Is that right?
Yeah.
So yeah, completely different show.
No, the interesting thing about Willie Tanner was he is an actor that turned up sort of. He's a mid-grade actor in a lot of American movies, and after this, he was so typecast he never worked in anything again.
You can imagine from the actor's point of view, they get into the show and they go, all right, this is my big break to be in Hollywood, being a primetime TV show, and they're being upstaged by a puppet every day of the week. And you would get sick of it after a period of time. I think it has actually happened before in a lot of TV shows. It was like, I'm a professional Shakespearean trained thing, and I'm getting taken over by a friggin' bath mat. So you would be a bit churdy, and I think that is why a lot of these gimmick shows don't tend to last that long.
The actual classic one of that is, of course, Guy Kidd
from Lost in Space,
where he was the star of the show and headline shows before, and was Zorro and quite a famous actor. And within 3 or 4 episodes, all the stories became about the robot Dr. Smith and Will. And by series 2, he was sidelined and not even in some episodes. So you're absolutely right; it happens a lot, and no one can tell that when the pilot's filmed either.
Yeah, you'd have to have a gut feeling though. It's like, okay, and especially I play Will Tanner on Elf, and you walk into the toy store and all you see is this in the comic book store, and you go, well, where am I? I'm not on the cover of one of these things.
Now, when the Vile looked at Vile comic books, we had a couple of the Alf comics before.
Yeah,
You're right, Guy Williams. I got half there, Guy. But yeah, you knew what we were talking about.
Yep.
The one down the bottom in the middle is particularly valued by comic book collectors, not because of anything in the story or it's not a particular special issue in the run. It just looks like Alf is being super inappropriate with a seal.
Oh, yeah, hang on. Yeah, that's just, yeah, what does that tell you about what's going on?
So the Alf comic book was interesting. It was very meta and would break the fourth wall, and it did last a lot longer than the show. They joked about the show being cancelled within the comic book, and you can see. I don't know if you can see the second comic book on the top. From the left, he's actually eating the peacock, which is the symbol of. Is it which channel? Is it NBC over there? Is the peacock?
Yeah, I think so.
So yeah, they mocked like what was happening in the real world and with the show in the comic book, which made the comic book, I guess, more endearing because it was a kind of wink to the audience that, hey, we know what's going on and we know this is all a big joke, but let's just go with it. So the Alf comic book did get a much longer run than you would expect from a spin-off from the show.
Yes, there was a comment from Christy. I have missed it. I'm sorry, Christy, but Moneybags has said the same thing, that there was an animated series as well.
There was, and there was merchandise for the animated series as well. It is funny how many series in the US get animated series, particularly pilots, because I guess it's cheaper to produce an animated series and use the voice actors than stage the whole show. And Alf did get a 4-season animated series.
Yeah, so there we go. Yes, the animation didn't cut the mustard. So, yeah, very, very cool. But other than comic books, of course, Elf popped up everywhere. And, of course, even you've had an Elf doll in your store at one time or another. But, yeah.
So, yes, Alf did get heavily merchandised right across a broad spectrum of products. So, as you see, we saw the books and the comics, but he got toys. I didn't actually realize there was a series of Alf action figures. There was, though, and I don't think I've ever seen those in Australia. So, admittedly, they're not great. You look at the bottom, which is a picture of what's on the back, and they are a series of action figures that look more like Happy Meal toys rather than nice action figures. But there was other things. The interesting one on the top left there is the Alf Chia Pet, which isn't a big thing in Australia, but they're an American thing where basically you get a bust of someone and you water it, and hair, as in alfalfa sprouts or something, grow out of it. And there was an Alf one. And then there's all different Alf things like badges and stencils and stickers and books like that. So he was very heavily merchandised. And he is one of those characters that appealed, I guess, to younger kids because it's a cute puppet, right up to teenagers because he was saying inappropriate stuff in front of the parents. So he did have that demographic who buy these kind of things. So he was obviously aimed at pocket money.
Two things. One, my hiccups are gone. Finally, I don't even know why they've gone, but they've gone. So Elf just got rid of them for me. And second thing, good to see Jacqueline's joined the show tonight. Even the animated series, they still have to pay the actors to do the voiceovers. That's true. It's a question whether they pay the original actors. And then with an animated series, other than there are some classics like Star Trek in the 70s, they got the real actors in. But for an animated series, you can use other actors' voices to play the characters because you're aiming for a different audience. A live action series is really pushed towards like a family orientated show. An animated series is more for the kids, and the kids might not even recognize who the voices are from the mother, the father, the daughter, and whatever. So they're cheaper, effectively.
A classic example of that would be the Beatles cartoon, where I tell you it was a lot cheaper to buy the people who voiced the Beatles on the cartoon than actually get the real Beatles in to voice it.
Yeah, or if you're really, really good, you get voice actors who can do multiple voices, and that way you only have to pay them half as much. So, but yeah, very, very cool. And of course, yes, the plush dolls, mate. The old Alfies.
Absolutely. Alf had a big merchandising push with plush dolls. Unlike Aggro, Alf was an original design, so they could have him everywhere. And they had talking Alfs and they had just regular Alfs. The talking plush doll was scary. My sister cuddled it in the middle of the night. There was a talking one. There was also one that was a bit like Teddy Ruxpin, where you could put a tape in it and it would talk to you and say different things. And like Teddy Ruxpin, the coolest thing to do with that would be get like a tape of Rodney Rude and put it in Alf, and then you had Alf talking and swearing and doing a Rodney Rude routine, which is something that we used to do when we were growing up. But you even had Alf was big enough that he got a Burger King promotion, and the actual Burger King toys were plush Alfs. And now they're nearly about a foot tall. So they're a substantial toy for a Burger King promotion. And they did the many faces of Alf. And he was in different outfits, Hawaiian shirts, or he was a rock god, or he was a surfer, or he'd be playing basketball. So Alf was a very popular sort of icon from the late 80s that got a lot of merchandise and was very, very well remembered today. In fact, we get Alf merchandise and it goes pretty fast. We even had a crappy chipboard poster which looked water damaged, and I couldn't throw it out because it was Alf, but it didn't look great and it still sold.
Oh, did it? I remember seeing it in the store. I wasn't sure if it was still there or not.
Yeah.
So, couple of things. So, Rusky Babe said, yeah, it did happen with a lot of TV series. They end up getting animated shows. So, in other words, you can continue the franchise. You just do it in a completely different format. And as mentioned there, there's Brady Bunch and Laverne and Shirley and so on and so on. Yeah, it was probably a very, very common thing. Most people who watch the live action series probably never watched the animated series. And Moneybags has said that the animated series for Alpha wasn't set on Earth. I never saw it. So, do you know that to be true?
No, the animated series is quite cool. Again, when you get the animated series, as it talks about there, you'd have Gilligan's Island, and they do Gilligan's Planet because there was no constraint of having to have the sets. So they go, do you know what kids like? Kids like space. Let's go. Yeah. They went for a tour on a rocket and landed on a different planet. And so you'd get some really wild animated series. Some of them were good. Some of them were pretty horrible.
So it wasn't a 3-hour tour, it was a 300-year tour. There you go. And Joe's made a point about the great Alf show bags for Prime Minister badge included and all the rest of it. And because the funny thing is, right, when the show was on, it was like, oh, mate, everybody's dialed into it. It's all great and wonderful. When it finishes, it's almost overnight. Everybody's forgotten about it. They're just like, nah, moved on to the next thing altogether. And now, of course, unless we bring it up, most people don't even think of Alf. If you said to someone, think of some awesome sci-fi TV series, comedies that you really loved, Alf probably wouldn't even be in the top 10. You'd have to sit and think about it for most people, not everybody, because it had its time, it did its run, and it just got replaced by something else, which then got replaced by something else. As was mentioned earlier, Third Rock from the Sun was another comedy show, sci-fi, set probably roughly in that era, different actors, different concept. But, you do wonder if Alf would still be up there. People have memories of it, and I've been in the store with you when someone's seen the Alf doll and go, oh, remember that? But for the most part, it's not consciously in the front of people's minds. So
the other thing, there are some shows that get repeated over and over and over, and some that sort of are around at the time and disappear. And some of the things we're looking at the moment, Alf, you think would be on a cable channel somewhere, but it's just not repeated. And I think it would have an audience, but it is one of those forgotten gems that's not repeated anymore.
Which is kind of funny because on free-to-air TV at the moment, like some of the Channel 7 stations, they're showing some really, they're showing My Favorite Martian from way back in the 1960s and things that they just pluck up out of nowhere, especially a lot of like the old MacGyvers and whatever. And you would think if you're going to do something, Alf would just slot right on in. No, I don't think it's been on TV for a couple of decades, if not longer. So it's the way it goes. Once again, like Tripods had its time, people moved on, but when it was out, it was very successful. And somebody somewhere will have all the collectibles sitting there going, well, I've still got them. There you go. Very, very good. Now, we saw this in the eBay section earlier on for videos, and it went for an absolute chicken feed. But what of the show itself and its collectibles, Mr. Aaron, Mr. Count Duckula?
Well, Count Duckula is another one of those beloved shows that there isn't a lot of merchandise in, but when you find someone who remembers it, they wax fondly over different episodes and how great it was, and Nanny and the whole setup, and how Count Duckula was, a misunderstood villain. Alf was a popular hit. Culture shows tend to be lower rating but have more dedicated fans, which is actually true. It isn't a broad hit anymore. It just has the fans that Alf was really a reboot of My Favorite Martian. It kind of was, really, wasn't it?
Yeah. I mean, it's an alien comes to Earth. It's got to sort of work out what it's obviously a comedy. Oh, they're both comedies, but anyway, continue on.
Yeah. So this was produced by Cosgrove Hall, who did Danger Mouse, and Duckula was actually a villain on Danger Mouse before he got his own show. Everyone who knows it can still sing the theme to Duckula. Didn't know there was a crossover with Danger Mouse. Well, it wasn't actually I guess it was a crossover. He just started life on Danger Mouse and then was so popular. I think he was in two episodes of Danger Mouse, and then he was so popular he got his own show. And David Jason is the voice of Danger Mouse, who people might know as one of the British actors who's been in a lot of things, from Only Fours and Horses to Inspector, I've forgotten his name, but yeah, a famous British actor. And when I originally saw Duckula, I didn't know this, but when you look at it now, it gives it that extra depth where you're like, wow, someone who is actually quite a renowned actor is doing the voice for this. So this is, I guess, the reverse thing of replacing real actors with sound-alike actors for cheapness. These actors were just doing it for the gig because it wasn't a character that existed before. So it's interesting. But Count Duckula did get a bit of merchandise at the time, but I think he was mainly popular in the UK. Now you can see there is an assortment of merchandise there that came out over the years. There were games, and there was jigsaws, and there was books. There was a lot of Duckula plushes. There was even Duckula soap. You can see there is Duckula. David Jason was the post, in Ronnie Barker in Open All Hours. He was the sidekick who liked Nurse Gladys Emanuel. But you can see there. Now, I was really surprised by this because I do not remember any of this stuff coming to Australia. I think there might have been a Duckula annual here that I saw once. I don't remember any of this. We must have missed most of it because I was collecting toys, and I indeed find toy collections all the time, and you never see any Duckula stuff. And it is quite a well-loved show for people who saw it and grew up with it for years and years after school on the afternoon show. You were probably too old to watch Duckula.
Yeah, afraid so, dude. I was out driving cars and picking up girls. But I did hear of it. I did have heard of it. And I got to admit, cartoons really weren't my forte. But like a lot of things, you just hang around with the right people. You hear the things getting mentioned and all the rest. You go, oh, it's interesting. I've never actually watched it myself. So, but I could certainly respect it and appreciate it. Yeah.
I was in the UK once, and there was a beautiful Duckula framed animation cell that I didn't collect Duckula, but I liked the character, and I nearly got it because I thought that's a really nice cell, and I think it was about £50, and I didn't get it, and I really wish I had because they're impossible to get and go for thousands and thousands of pounds now. Rebecca says it was one of her favourites. It was one of my favourites too. I would never miss Duckula. My mum watched it as well, and she really liked Nanny, who was sort of an overbearing, do everything wrong servant. He had a couple of servants. Duckula had a comic book strip, again, which was quite popular and ran for a while. He was popular overseas, and there's some overseas merchandise there as well. And he was in that era where he was getting games made on the Commodore and the Amiga. So you can see, I think there's an Amstrad screenshot there too. But there was different Duckula video games, and it is one of those things that if you collected, you could probably do a nice room full of Duckula memorabilia, but for an Australian, you'd have to get it all off of eBay because you do not see any of this stuff here at all. So I was quite surprised how much there was.
Very good. So there's always room for a little bit of Duckula in your life. All right. So moving on to some. My hard drive's probably fallen asleep, so this might not even play, but we'll give it a go. If that hasn't floated your boat, maybe this will wet your whistle. There you go, a bit of Famous Five, Mr. Aaron.
I know. So this is going back to the late 70s, and Famous Five is actually one of the first TV series I can remember like wanting to watch every episode and being a bit of a fan of. Did you watch the Famous Five, Dags?
I'm trying to think if I did or not. There's a lot of things I did see bits and pieces of in my travels. And I'm going to say yes, but I don't remember it. It was just too long ago, and it wouldn't have been on a regular basis. But I would have, and I'll be frankly honest, right? When it comes to, it's an interesting scenario. If you watch a TV show as a kid and the characters are your age, you really dial into them. You go, well, that could easily be me being there, right? Yeah. And of course, me being me, I would have just focused straight on the girl, going, "Oh, she's a bit of a babe, she might only be 12, and I only be 12, and you know how it is." And I don't remember anything else really, but it is interesting watching shows when you're of the same vintage as the characters, and I reckon that's how you can really, really connect them, because in the back of your mind, thinking that could easily be me doing what they're doing. How good would that life be? So,
I'll tell you what, two things there. Anne was one of my first crushes when I was growing up. I could have only been 5 or 6, and it was a choice between her and Daphne from Scooby-Doo. They were both pretty hot in my book. And you were absolutely right, where they were at the age where they were maybe a couple of years older than me when I watched it. And you don't watch shows with younger kids because younger kids aren't cool. But you watch shows with kids a couple of years older because they're doing cooler stuff than you can do. Now, I'll tell you the episode of Famous Five that should have been made that wasn't made. Famous Five get taken away from their parents by protective services. Because you watch the Famous Five now, and they're 10 or 12 or whatever they are, and their family go, it's the school holes. Here's some gypsy caravans. Come back in 3 weeks. And they just let them go out onto the moors and fight smugglers or foil pirates and all this kind of stuff. And you're like, no wonder I loved it as a kid. There was no, you have to be in bed at 7:30. There was, you can go out and you can do whatever you want, whenever you want. Now you'd get taken away by child protective services. It's funny watching it now.
Yeah, I like that. I should have used the same term that you used. So you had a crush. You had a crush on the girl. That's why I used to love watching Young Talent Time. I had a crush on Sally Boyd. And, as a kid, you just did. You just dreamed of all this stuff. But yes, the adventures that these guys had, especially if you lived a pretty boring life, you go to school during the daytime, you ride your bikes in the park on the weekend. That's it. And you watch something like this and you go, oh, this is a cool existence. And it's got, putting in blunt terms, a hot chicken. And it's like, mate, it's the greatest show ever. And yes, exactly right. So the joys of youth.
Yeah.
Love it.
So,
where were we? So, yes, the old Famous Five. Yes, very, very cool.
So the Famous Five is, of course, based on the Enid Blyton series, The Famous Five, that started in 1942. And she would publish a book every couple of years, right up until the 60s when she passed away. So it's one of her longer series. Originally, there were only going to be 5 Famous Five books, but it was so popular with kids and with her publisher, because obviously they made a lot of money. They kept making more and more Famous Five books, and it is probably one of her most beloved franchises. Now, we're looking at mainly the TV Famous Five because that is what we used to watch after school when we were growing up. And there was Julian, Dick and Anne, George and Timmy the dog, as the theme tune showed us. Who was the coolest member of the Famous Five, Dags? It was obviously Dick. Look what he's reading. He's reading a Doctor Who book. Dick was played by... Sorry. Dick was played by Gary Russell, who, of course, went on to be editor of Doctor Who magazine and is a big Doctor Who fan, has written for the various series and script edited and is big in Doctor Who fandom, as president of the Doctor Who Club, Phil Nichols was mentioning earlier. So, yes, it has a bit of, there you go, Dick was from Doctor Who fame. So for me, that was like an extra bonus because I didn't even know that when I was growing up. I just wanted to be one of the Famous Five and go camping with them, particularly because they had such amazing things they would eat and pull out of their backpacks all the time. And then when I found out that they were Doctor Who fans as well, that's like the best group of kids ever.
So that's when you discovered, why is the screen so blue? Why can't I see the characters and the girl looks really blurry? It's because you're too busy licking the screen because like, oh my God, they're Doctor Who fans. How good is this? And they're my age. And they've got a cool dog. When you said earlier, who's the coolest character? I thought I was going to say the dog. So, yeah, absolutely fantastic. But
The funniest story from the Famous Five now, I had the TV versions of the books because, of course, they released all the books again in paperback, and we will look at them later. And in the back of the books that go, become a member of the Famous Five fan club and like get a badge so you can wear it, and other members of the Famous Five clan club can see it and approach you and you can become friends. And I was like, this is the coolest thing ever. And I sent off for one of those badges and I wore it everywhere. Do you know how many people approached me?
0.
Exactly. I think actually it was girl repellent.
I was going to say, you just said, as you're saying that, I was thinking, because it's obviously a kid's show, you get some creepy old dude who says, I'll put on one of these badges. Hey there, little Johnny, come on over. Let's do the secret handshake, the Famous Five secret hand. Oh, bad.
And Jacqueline is right. Whenever you read the books, it was always lashings of whipped cream or lashings of ginger pop or ginger beer and stuff like that. And I remember I'd often read them when I was home from school sick, and I'd probably eat twice as much because of the descriptions of all the food that Anne or Aunt Fanny or whoever was preparing for the Famous Five. So they are, beyond the TV series, a very beloved set of characters.
So we've got a fun factoid. Famous Five Gary Russell created Doctor Who Bulletin, Who Bulletin. Sorry, get that right. Later Dream Watch with sound did a huge tirade against the show's producer. Sound familiar? So
Aha. Russell Devlin has got his factoids wrong. That was Gary Lee. That was Gary Lee, not Gary Russell.
Dude, he's going to be banging the keyboard. I can actually hear it. He's going, that freaking Aaron, he's wrong. You watch the show, will finish, we'll have gone to bed, and he'll still be like typing out this big message to say, no.
Oh, well.
Oh, dear. There we go. Gary came to one of the DWC meetings and interviewed Katie Manning. They picked them old cars in the back. Oh, his old car is in the background. There we go. That's a fun factoid for you. Who gives a shit about your old car, dude? But
well, I can't.
Anyway.
I can't dispute that one.
Yeah, that car was in the background. That's definitely 100% fact. So there you go. Very good. Subliminal advertising for the British dairy industry. Well, I guess it is too. So, here we go. Look at that. It was nerds at 20 paces.
I think you will find it's Gary Lee. I think you need to do some Googling of who created Doctor Who Bulletin.
Hang on. I'm going to cut the conversation right now because when Rusky Bays and you meet up at the December 17th the dinner, I'll put you two next to each other and we'll be just watching two Docky Who nerds. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh.
Well, Gary Russell did write for Doctor Who Bulletin, but he didn't create it, and it was Gary Lee that went on the anti-JNT tirade for years and years.
Anyway,
sorry, this is all for tomorrow night. Let's move on to the famous five.
Yeah, we're on about collectibles. Oh, this is so funny. He's like, instead of typing out a long message, just said bullshit. All right, so we're talking about magazines. Get into it, dude.
So much like a lot of the shows we talk about that came out of the UK, Famous Five did get comic books in Look-In, and the Look-In Famous Five comics kind of were the same as the TV series, where they went on adventures on Mystery Moor and secret passages and smugglers and things like that. And the food descriptions were fantastic. It's probably one of the reasons I rejected my parents' cooking and became a proficient chef myself, because of the Famous Five and wanting to be able to impress Anne if I ever bumped into her and could cook stuff that would rival Aunt Fanny. There you go.
It always is. Yep.
Secret confessions of a Famous Five fan. I did think they came out right at the time. If you're a kid, like you said, you would want to go on adventures with them. It was one of those series that it was just the right amount of danger, but getting the comeuppance on adults, where the Famous Five would always win and nothing would ever happen to them that was bad. The worst thing that could ever happen would you get locked in a gypsy caravan for half the episode. So nothing so terrible at all. The other thing about the Famous Five is it had a who's who of British guest actors through it. It was right at that time at the 70s, where you'd get a lot of people like Patrick Troughton or Brian Glover, who was always fantastic as a villain, and a couple of other British actors, all of who are in, Star Wars as villains and things like that, turn up on the Famous Five every week, which I didn't know at the time. But, when you watch back now, it's that extra level for pop culture fans where you go, oh, he's from this, he's from this, he's from this. And they're doing a kid show on the BBC. Oh, it was actually London Weekend Television.
I find it interesting because you've got the Famous Five and you're straight away thinking, oh, there's five individuals. And you don't realize that the fifth individual is the dog. And of course, the dog is front and center just about all the time in the pictures. So, that's one famous pooch.
I would be interested to know this. When me and my brother watched this show, there's the theme, we are the Famous Five, Julian, Dick and Anne, and we would always sing, and Kermit the Frog, and think that was hilariously funny. Now, I introduced this show to my son, who really, really liked it as well, and I would sing and Kermit the Frog with the theme, and he would go mental and go, it's Timmy the dog, don't sing Kermit the Frog, that's just wrong. It's just one of those, it's just one of those... fun things we used to do. So this is the set of the TV versions of the books. All these books had been released before. The Famous Five was a famous and beloved book series before it was turned into a TV show. I remember getting these all for Christmas one year, each individually wrapped by Santa, and getting a book at a time out of the Santa sack one Christmas. And it was the best Christmas I ever had, having the entire set of Famous Five books in one go. And the first one I read, I can remember, was Five Go Off on a Camp, because it had a steam engine on the front. The Famous Five and steam engines, that was just like the best time on the holidays for me.
That is actually very, very cool. Now, this is an interesting one. I mean, the picture's a bit blurry, everybody, so don't adjust your TV sets.
So we've talked about how you could get cast cards before if you wrote away to TV stations requesting autographs and pictures of your favorite show. And this is the letter. Someone has actually got the full letter that they got back from London Weekend Television. And the amazing thing there, they're all signed, and Timmy the dog comes signed with a paw print. Now, I presume they're all pre-prints. But as a kid, if I had got this in the post after writing off to the TV series, it would have been instantly my most beloved possession ever. The famous five wrote to me. Even Timmy wrote to me. How crazy is that?
Yeah, and because it's a small picture that you'll find they use the Chihuahua paw rather than the actual breed of the dog. You go, geez, you must have shrunk in the wash, good old Timmy. But there you go. We're going to get Timmy's card. You do wonder which of the group who's got the most value associated with it. So, but yeah.
Yeah, I think you will find that Timmy probably was the most popular. I've, when I was interesting, when I was looking for this, there is no famous five TV merchandise. You can get the books and that's about it. There's a lot of collectors and nothing really turns up on eBay. It's very hard to find.
Very cool. All right, now it's just gone 10 o'clock. We've still got a few more slides to go. We're already halfway through the famous five thing. I think people are enjoying the conversation. So we will plow on for another 10 minutes, but we will be mindful of the time. Okay. So, but we'll get through this segment. Otherwise, we'll have to carry it over, which you don't want to do. Are you happy with that, dude?
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool.
And so the famous five, they got the paperbacks reissued, but what really must have made the Enid Blyton estate happy was they released annuals, but each annual they chose a different book and reprinted the book in large format form. So Famous Five ran for 2 years and they got 8 annuals out of it. So it must have been popular. And these kids, yes.
I'm going to cut you right off. Look at this. Actually, it was Gary Levy, so you win. He's like, oh, cop, that Rusky Babes is like crawled into his shell and goes, shit, everyone was right.
No, hold on. Because I've got to say, over the whole 40 episodes this year, Russell is really good at catching me because we do stuff live and sometimes my memory isn't perfect and I'll come up with Guy Ritchie instead of Guy Williams and Russell is the first person to catch it. So that's really unusual, but it was one I was sure of.
Dude, mate, gloat in your success. Don't sit there and go, no, Rusky Babes is right most of the time. No, sit there and go, I told you, never try and out-nerd the nerd. I'd hate to have been in Russell's situation. No. Well done to you, sir. So now when you go to the dinner, Rusky Babes, make sure you order a bit of humble pie. Sorry, dude. I'm only stirring up Rusky Babes. All right. Keep going, dude.
That did turn from bullshit to actually you were right pretty fast, didn't it? So there were annuals.
Honorable in defeat. Well done, dude.
Yes. There were annuals released for the Famous Five, and I don't remember any of them being here, but they were big sellers and they are quite available. But they are just these stories of the Famous Five released in annual form, which would have raked in money to the Enid Blyton estate. And down the bottom there is some of the badges I was talking about, where you could send off to be a member of the Famous Five fan club, and you'd get other badges of the cast. But it is funny when you read it. It's like, wear your badge proudly so other members of the fan club can see you and approach you and become friends. No one ever became my friend.
Yeah, I got to admit, you're as a kid, you would have been like, I get it. You would have been very, very excited about that. Greg's unhappy. He was looking forward to the rumble in the jungle, rumble in the dinner, with between yourself and Rusky Babes. That would have been a side. That would be definitely one to stream live. But anyway, will you move on?
Yep. So there was other Famous Five memorabilia based on the TV series. There was a series of jigsaws that you can see there. There was a board game that came out, I think, in Spain, which I never knew existed, which would have been pretty cool. And the Viewmaster sets, again, which I had never seen, but there was a Famous Five Viewmaster set. And again, I looked on eBay because sometimes I've got to say when I research these shows, I get a bit of the collector's bug and wouldn't mind getting something, and nothing at all. Couldn't find anything.
Very good stuff. If you're getting board games and Viewmasters, you know your show is very popular. Yeah.
Yep, and then like all of these stars, they released the Famous Five theme, and I have to say, as an adult, I was really disappointed because I found out the Famous Five actually didn't sing the theme themselves. And for years and years, when they were singing "We Are the Famous Five," I actually thought it was the kids who were the actors singing it, but no, it was of course some kids from a choir, and you would expect that because if you're an actor, it doesn't automatically mean you can sing. So the theme was recorded by a different group of children, and that's the version of it that's available. That was available in a hit in different countries, particularly Germany as well. And down the bottom, some of the episodes before they were released on video were actually released on LP as spoken word stories. And I had one of those growing up, but I have no idea what happened to it. So it's probably got sold by the capitalist dog when he was about 10 years old or something.
Don't mention the capitalist dog. There's no time to bring him into this.
There's always
I was
time
going to
for
say,
the-
I'd be curious to see if the cast all got along, being kids as they were. It'd be interesting. Like, a lot of shows, I know we're sort of running over time. A lot of shows where the kids seem to grow up as they're actually in the show, like they did in the Brady Bunch. They start off young and they get older and older, and all of a sudden relationships between the cast form and they have bitch fights and whatever else. You do wonder if there was actually any ego clashes with the cast as they got more and more famous. So
they have done. They got on amazingly well, like brothers and sisters. They got on really well, and they're still friends. Sadly, Georgina died when she was very young, so there's only the three of the Famous Five left. I don't know what happened to Timmy, but being a dog, I'm pretty sure he wouldn't have been around.
Yeah, no,
by now.
There's only 2 pictures left, so we're almost at the end.
And of course, there was, again, totally, I never knew this. I would have been obsessed by these. There was Famous Five cards, trading cards, and sticker albums by Panini, who seemed to just do everything from Star Wars to Flash Gordon and now the Famous Five. And I did not know these existed till yesterday. And there's some collections out there that have got amazing card sets and unopened boxes and things like that. But again, good luck on finding them, because even looking at completed items on eBay, there was none of this available. It is one of those shows that's very beloved. And I think it's very beloved because when you get a show that's based on a franchise that's already an existing collectible book, this kind of just becomes part of that canon. So you'll have people who collect Enid Blyton that just have to suck all this stuff up as well because they collect Enid Blyton books. So you're not just competing with people who love the show, you're competing with someone who has a massive volume of work with a lot of fans anyway.
Very good. And it's our last image.
Yes, and the Famous Five, although it was notoriously hard to get after it was screened, in that it was screened a few times on the ABC in the morning and in the evening. After they screened it, I never saw any DVDs or videos. In the UK, they did release videos. I don't remember ever seeing them here. And the DVDs they released are good, but there have been plans many times to release documentary ones and behind the scenes stuff and interviews and commentaries. But all the episodes are pretty much standard because they're dealing with the Enid Blyton estate. They cannot seem to get around making any extras or any DVDs or anything, because I don't know if it's to do with the rights or how much it costs. The other thing with the Famous Five, it was a massive hit TV series. It was really huge. It did not get cancelled. They were expecting to come back and make many more series with the same kids as they grew up. But what happened was the Enid Blyton estate, there was 21 books, and over the 2 years they did all 21 books, and they went back to the Enid Blyton estate and said, now we're going to do original stories and this is going to be fantastic. And the Enid Blyton estate said, no, you're not. And that was the end of it. So you hear interviews with the kids where they were all geared up to the next series, and their agents rang them and said, we know it's a hit. You know, you're on the cover of magazines. There's not going to be any more.
And I think that's the right thing to do, actually, because it's a bit like the Poirot series, Poirot for you being blunt. It just did the Agatha Christie books, and once they ran out of books and stories, they just finished. And but once you start creating your own material, then you start heading down paths. You go, oh, hang on, this wasn't the original plan for the characters. It just ran its natural course, and I think that's actually a very good thing. If the quality was maintained the whole way through and it finished where it finished, that's excellent. Russell said, is it a contemporary or period chat? It was contemporary at the time, if I recall.
Well, I think they're talking about the one Colin says there was a TV remake in the 90s.
Sorry, I missed that part. Yep. Sorry.
There has been a couple of different versions of the Famous Five. I think that works best with the 70s show is it was the only contemporary one in the 70s. All the other shows have been set in the 40s and 50s. And I think that kind of, it has a bit of charm. But for me, having the ones in the 70s with current kids at the time made it a lot better. And they were really good adaptations where they took the original stories and moved them to the 70s without ruining them. It wasn't like, oh, we'll take the characters and we'll gender swap one of them and we'll do this. It was a very faithful update of the series, and that's why I think they still have the charm. And indeed, now they're a 70s series, and you can look back at that with charm as well.
Yeah, it'd be funny because if someone said, let's do a remake of the Famous Five, you can imagine they would make a lot of changes that add in, like, mixed genders and races.
Timmy
and all that sort of stuff. Yeah.
is a cat.
And Timmy's a cat, or he's a budgie, a Maltese budgie. There you go. Very, very good. All right, so that's actually the end of that. So that's the Famous Five, all done and dusted. Very cool stuff. If you end up finding any Famous Five collectibles, make sure you hang on to them and have a whale of time. All right, so we've run over time. We're not going to hang around. So if everybody out there, hope you enjoyed the show. Don't forget to put your name in if you want to join us for the dinner on the December the 17th at the Matthew Flinders Hotel at 7 p.m. Make sure you let us know. Tickets are not unlimited. We're hanging out with us. It's all very, very groovy. And it should be very, very excellent. Mr. Aaron, any final words before we sign off?
Yeah, thanks for joining us again this week and talking about the nostalgia from our childhood on After Show TV. We will see you tomorrow if you're a Docky Who fan on the Who Report.
Very, very good. And if you want to talk about a show that no one ever remembers, The Kids from Caper. Oh, I was definitely watching that one. So there you go.
I love The Kids from Caper.
Oh, there you go. All right, guys, leave you to a party, hard rock on. And yes, don't forget to join us tomorrow night for the Docky Who Report. Okay, see you later. Okay, bye-bye.
Have a good night, guys.